GG's, well played.
Welcome back, everyone, to the DPL Winter Major. My name is Saul, also joined here by Laboxy up here in the booth with me. So we've got an exciting game to commentate over in this best of three. It's going to be the Gnomes versus Kitura, and I think the last time I got to commentate over Kitura was last week, and they were playing up against Danger Doodles, and that's how they got sent down into the losers bracket. But Boxy, what is your knowledge between these two teams?
I mean, so first of all, let me preface by saying that these are the semifinals. Like whichever team wins goes to the grand finals. And I don't think anyone expected either Gnomes nor Kitura to get this far in the upper bracket. And it's super good. I'm super happy seeing that they did. But also, I don't think many people expected it. Like most people expected in the grand finals, maybe Global Breakout versus Yakuza or something like that. And that is obviously not happening. Both got knocked down to lower bracket. Yakuza's actually out as of yesterday. If you haven't seen that match yet, spoiler alert, I guess. But I really think that like no one expected Gnomes and Kitura to make it this far up in the upper bracket. And one of these two teams is going to the grand finals, which is just I really like that. I really like the new kind of the underdog teams doing so well this major. What do you think?
Yeah, and I also did not get to prefacize anything about the Gnomes yet. We actually got to commentate for a Scuff broadcast that was on a secondary stream. They actually got to beat Global Breakout in a best of 4 series, essentially, because there were 2 different ties, I believe, at one point. No, it was a tie and then a victory by GB and also a victory by the Gnomes at the very beginning. So they had to go to another map because the scoreline was even, and those guys put their heart and soul into everything, and they really put on a brilliant series for us to, commentate over, despite the fact that the first 2 series were a little mickey because we're like, we don't know how long this game's gonna go for. We're just here to relax, and then things got serious. So then we had to get serious as well. And just listening to Scooge's emotion, and they had a second guy up, and I'll probably go look for his name later on. I can almost guarantee he'll be playing. Okay, thank you, Boxy. We also got to hear his responses as well during the interview, and just the raw passion and emotion that I got to hear from them. I mean, it only made sense. They've been improving a lot gameplay-wise, and they really need this win. They don't just want it, they need it. So just off of that, I feel like they have a strong chance to put up a damn good fight against Kitura this evening and almost guarantee themselves to get to grand finals. But that's not going to be just based off of gameplay, and I can almost also guarantee that Kitura, they are not going to want to go out without a fight just yet, too.
Yeah. Okay, so you're predicting Gnomes.
Yeah, but by like a 60-40.
Yeah?
I still think it's going to be a very close game.
Okay. Well,
I
do think Gnomes may be better on paper, but I'll be an EU shill and I will say Kitura. Just so we don't always agree because they are EU homeboys. So whichever team loses today still just goes to the lower finals. Nothing's lost for them. They will then play the winner of Danger Duels versus Global Breakout, the game that is going to stream after this one. And whoever wins that one still gets to play in the grand final. So really nothing lost here except for having to play one more match. And I'm super excited for this one. Like, everyone that has been talking to me for the past week knows I've been talking about this match, and even yesterday's match, I was like, oh, I can't wait. So we're finally here. And I really hope it's a banger of a match. Are we ready, though? Let's check.
No, I think that we still have a practice scrim going on by the
Oh,
Gnomes right now. Yeah, there's still a couple rounds out. I think if I hit refresh, we can actually find out here. Yes, they, in theory, need only one more round to win because maybe their opponents are just kind of throwing because we know you have a game that should already be going live. Let's just, get this process up and running. So we'll be here for a little while longer, but you and I both know Gnomes and Kitura, not only on a gameplay level, but also a personal level. I'm quite close to a couple of them. Dylan, great example. I always call him the one cool British person because I always have the joke of how I hate UK people, which is not true. Dylan's pretty fun to hang around with. For the Gnomes, I mean, you would know better than me. You are a U after all, Boxy. I'm only NA, but also for the Gnomes, I talk to Index quite a lot, especially during 10-mans, which I am still trying to improve at because I'm still relatively new to at least gameplay wise. So I go up against Revenant and he just smokes my pack every single time, which, isn't fun, but it does help me learn quite a lot. So I always enjoy the opportunity to do that. So it is a little bittersweet tonight because we get to see 2 really close teams that we know personally, one of them having to unfortunately go home empty-handed in a sense, or at least get knocked into the losers bracket technically. So that's, going to be a bit of an upset. And I think whoever loses here has to go up against the winner of the losers semifinals, correct? For the losers grand finals? Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. So
Yeah.
they'll have to go up against either GB or Danger Doodles, one of the two of those teams.
Mm-hmm. Who do you have winning Danger Doodles versus Global Breakout? I assume Global Breakout, but I'm still gonna ask you.
Yeah, but I'd also like to mention, I talked about improvement a little while ago. Danger Doodles, they've also gone through a lot of improvement. However, there are a couple of strategies that they implement that can be counteracted quite easily.
Okay.
One in particular, having Gravy run the full auto and run around like a chicken with head cut off. It is very fun to watch, especially when it works. But you also need to consider the enemy team because they let him get away with that. You should not be having that happen. He'll do it in 10 mans, he'll do it in ranked, he'll do it in competitive play because it works. If you can counter that, then you're going to see a bit more weaknesses on the side of Danger Doodles. However, there are also, some issues here and there with GB as well. Also, Argo, a great example as well. Normally they're full auto player. Sometimes he won't be given the opportunity to, do his thing. Argo just kind of plays like Argo. He even quote himself, I don't think. So if you can counter Argo, that is also one less player to worry about. So it might be a power struggle between those two teams. And I highly recommend that you not only watch this game that's happening right now, but also the game that happens between Gnomes and, or not Gnomes, sorry, in Kitura, Danger Duels and Global Breakout later at 3:30 Eastern, because that's still probably going to be a pretty exciting match depending on who can get away with what during that best of three.
Yeah. Okay, we just got pinged. The match is about to start, so get your game up
Let's
and
go.
ready.
They are hashtag
The-
in queue.
Oh
And
my
also
god.
Merchant replied saying, hop on due process with a very interesting
Yeah.
GIF.
You
I'm
were
not going to elaborate any further because we
oh
like
my
to keep
god.
PG-13 up here. Unless we're on a scuff podcast, then then we don't have to do that.
Yeah, you were talking about Revenant, like, as we just have some time to fill. I actually met him for the first time yesterday in a random casual, like, queued up with him, and we just kind of
Yeah,
talked. And I really like the guy. I do hope that, like, to see him around more. I know he's kind of been on a break. He said 6 months till the next video. By the way, someone else asked him, so
let's go.
brace yourselves.
I love
um,
those videos. They're great. Highly recommend you watch them, especially if you're still trying to learn stuff about due process. Some of the videos might be dated, but they are still very helpful. I hate to cut you off, Boxy, but figure I'd throw that out there.
oh, good.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, password. Actually, I probably shouldn't say the password, but it's a funny one.
We don't need to.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a funny one though.
All right. Let me look
Okay,
at it.
we're just talking about the server that we're gonna queue on. Yep.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Anyways, how
that's
you how you
totally
doing
valid.
today, fellow? I know it's still early for you. You just woke up. You showered snow, I've
Yep.
heard, because East Coast got hit with a pretty bad storm. What's up?
Yeah. So, I woke up. I got like 10 hours of sleep, but I was still incredibly tired. You always need to find that good median of like you don't
Mm-hmm.
sleep for a
Mm-hmm.
long enough amount of time, or you wake up really horrible, or you don't sleep for a really short amount of time and you still feel like crap. So I did not find that median today because I went to bed at midnight and stayed and basically woke up at like 10. Then
Oh
I
no.
looked at scheduling. I was like, oh, I can almost guarantee the game's gonna be happening at 3:30 because the other two did yesterday. Nope, it's noon. So I have to rush up, put on all my snow gear, head downstairs, and go and shovel, basically pack snow because we didn't shovel our front walkway yet. So I had to shovel
Oh
like
no.
roughly a foot and a half to 2 feet of snow in like 30 minutes, then run in the shower, get dressed. Yeah, it wasn't fun, but it's whatever. It wasn't like horrible. I don't feel horrible anymore. It kind of woke me up a little bit too. So I guess it was a blessing in disguise. And I think what also could be a blessing in disguise is that we're almost ready to get into the game. Both players or both teams, pardon, are still just in queue, but they're not in a ranked game or a casual game, so that's a plus.
Yeah. Well, you get to look at our beautiful faces for just a while longer, and
Yeah.
well, yeah, we pretty much covered already. We covered this game. We covered the next game that I
Hmm.
think Echo and Stuff Shark are doing.
I think so.
We covered us playing 10 mans. What else can we even talk about right now? What can we do?
I don't know. I guess that I didn't prefacize a lot about the Doodles and GB game. I just gave kind of like two examples. Another
Yeah.
thing, especially for Global Breakout, because we get to talk to them a bit more than normal, and you can also look at the VODs as well that they have on air, so you can kind of witness this yourself if you like to take notes about teams and their adaptation. We've been seeing more of Plebdo on MOP and also EK on like long AK, for example, on defense, which I think is a role that suits him really well too, because he can still kind of play at that comfortable range he's always been good at. But if he's not having a good day on the mop, It's not the end of the world. Plebdo's still a great player as well, and you'll still see, you'll still see Akazo go on Mop and Saver sometimes, but just not all the time because that aggression that he loved to implement where you, like, run outside, then you have Argo somewhere else on the map, run out with the full auto, it doesn't work as well as it used to, unfortunately, especially if you miss that first shot. You now get punished quite heavily inside of the Winter Major, so the adaptation that's been performed by Global Breakout has been very enjoyable to witness because now they know we've got some good teams we got to go up against. So let's
Mhm.
change up our play style so we can win games more confidently again.
Yeah, I spoke about this yesterday with Echo, like
Mm,
exactly this about how most teams would, kind of
very
either
key.
struggle with changing their roles around or try forcing the old roles and just making it work, but not GB. They just, they have so many good frags. They have Domzy, Pleb, Argo, and so they can
Yeah.
just kind of switch those roles around and it doesn't really
Good.
end up impacting them. It's just like Pleb go kill and Pleb goes kill. So yeah, I do think that EK was doing much better yesterday. I think he top fragged, not top damaged, but top fragged on game one versus
Mm.
Yakuza. And speaking of EK, by the way, he is in here with us because he's our production man for today. So you're only getting the top tier production. I think he is the best person to do it currently in due process, and I'm super happy to have him with us. So hi
I mean,
EK.
yeah. Yeah. Hi,
Can we get
K.
a
Also, we are in the
EK
game too.
EK flex in chat? We're in game. Okay, let's go.
That's EK right now, hard flexing. That's him. So yeah, I already have the game up on the screen. I don't know if we do in actual prod yet or not, but we're on bank, and we have a tile set where the actual switch is inside of accounting. It's in a pretty odd spot because there's really like no red door next to it. So because of that, we're gonna have Kitura opt to actually either go for a double charge inside of entrance and then wall charge open into accounting or go through the vents. I think they're just opting to do a 3-2 split into both the two separate free vents. Then they can try to, bout for the players that are near tellers or maybe someone kind of ratting in the back of loans or near the hall to go for Molly and Barb play. And then once they get that back side of the map control, they can then try to pressure on out into tellers directly, clear out lobby perhaps. And the one good thing about this push that I like is that you really don't need to struggle with security most of the time unless you want to like fully clear out the entire area of accounting. Some
Yep.
teams struggle quite heavily with coordinating getting inside of security. Do I think Katura is a team that normally struggles with that endeavor? No. But sometimes if you are low on your man count or you don't have enough flashes, it can still be quite challenging even for well coordinated teams.
Yeah. I'm just gonna address the elephant in the room. The fact that Merchant has like 6 spaces in his name is tilting me so hard. I will cry during this broadcast. I think if I mute it, it's because tears are rolling down my
Merchant.
cheeks.
That's
Urchin.
how we have to commentate over him now today.
Urchin gets the entry.
Hmm. And we'll see what Urchin does inside the back vent. There is a barbed wire directly next to the vent, essentially. So
There's
if Lewis and Reptar want to, they can fall back, deal a little bit of damage, then kind of peel away. But that's the big thing for the defense is they have way less health. So if they get some kind of pick, but it's a refrag, it's not that helpful as it could be of just doing some damage and peeling away. Merchant has already been brought down to about half HP, and the drop has now gone down inside of hallway. Lewis has fallen back into bathroom, and he'll go for the wide swing. Jet gets
Oh,
caught in a crossfire, but still remains alive. Not a single bit of damage actually being done to him. That was quite a lucky survival rate there by
how do
Jettas. He'll be able to be
how do you
quite
get away
healthy
with
throughout the
that?
rest of this round.
How do you get away with that? How do you let that happen as
I
an
don't know.
attacker, Kitura? Well, regardless, whole right side has been, sorry, control of the right side of the map has been forfeited to Kitura, and now they have quite a lot of time to work with. Still, a minute. They do need to get to the button and then to the vault. The wall charge is coming out, and now everyone from Gnomes is kind of pinched in accounting and manager. So it's really just going to be a slaughter
Oof.
once Jet gets in. There we go. He gets mace, and now it's all up to Raptor and Louis to refrag there. Raptor will also fall. Louis falls back, but it's not looking great for Gnomes.
No, not at all so far. The man advantage still quite strong by Katura. They're just about ready to hit
Oh,
the switch here, but Dylan actually falls. 30 seconds left on the clock, and this full commitment into both accounting and manager might actually be worth it. Index in the back with the Ingmars, able to keep Jet at bay. He'll find that first kill.
there
There
we
is a
go.
trade, but the time is still ticking down. 20 seconds left. Huge will
Oh,
finally fall, but no one's near the vault, and it's going to be a pretty decent distance to approach upon.
nope.
But luckily, that wall charge will give a direct way of access inside of lobby. No chance of dealing with the cycle system inside of security, so there will be more than enough time left to defuse that bomb. The nade is still in the pocket of Roach. There's a clacker and smoke for Merchant. So a pretty good attack overall by Kitura. And I think one of the slight issues here was the necessary evil that we had Gnomes try to perfect of giving up security for free, because it was a full hold in lobby
Mhm.
for Kitura. The fallback, yeah, it makes sense because they have to come to you for the switch, but giving up security and allowing Jet just to run into you and get caught in a double peek with your back and front now being shot at, it's just not a good idea, especially if you want to play that aggressive. You always need to have one of those sides as a guaranteed coverage hold by one of your
Yeah.
teammates. So a bit of an oversight, but it's the first round and it was still a pretty darn close round.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. It was pretty much just how fast Gnomes relinquished their
Mhm.
control of the map. They all fell back, and they all fell back to the same two rooms. They had no one on the flank. They had no one on the crosses. They were all just kind of waiting to be slaughtered inside of, I think, manager and accounting. And their early game, their setup wasn't horrible. I quite liked it, but then they just ended up relinquishing all of that control. Like I said, way too early on. They didn't contest the attackers enough. They didn't burn their flashes, and it ended up costing them. But also, Kitura would have lost in time if they didn't have the wall chart. So there is that, it just kind of
Yep.
lined up for them. But it's 1-0, and Gnomes haven't lost too much, rather. One round, whatever happens. Need to warm up.
Mm-hmm. That is the
Mm-hmm.
the old saying, just it's a warm-up round, it's a warm-up match perhaps, depending on what
Oh.
kind of team you
Oh.
are. Even for GB, because we were joking about that, the warm-up match, and then they really started kicking it into high gear after they made some changes in their game against the Gnomes. So, moving in here to Kill House, this is a very odd tile set because I feel like you would not want to go into Brick House at all. It's just completely isolated from the rest of the map here. You
Mm-hmm.
would probably just want to go for green, basically, go into reception, maybe have a charge set inside of the other direction where a red door would be, which is in the back of hall, too. That is definitely possible, but in all honesty, maybe double charging for the next tile set might be the better idea, even though you've already used the wall charge there in your last round.
Yeah, just to touch upon Brick House, excuse me. Most teams, or at least some teams that I've seen, they often put like a mopper in Brick House, especially because they say like there's very little chance that someone pushes Brick House. And if they do, they've just kind of crippled an economy by using an explosive where they probably shouldn't have. So you can have the mopper in Brick House just running it down on those long angles. But back to the round, as someone
Ooh.
already falls, Mace gets the entry on Urchant, and that will be the man count lead for Gnomes early on.
We already had the fallback happening. It appears so far that the Gnomes are just opting to fall back a majority of these rounds here. It kind of pays off because you still have a shotgun player of Dylan. This could actually play into the strengths, and they already had the first pick. So that's fantastic. But a lot of map control, again, will be
Oh
forfeited
no.
because of that. And you already have the entire defense just wrapping around in both office and lockers and really not overexposing themselves. So if another major mistake ends up getting made here by Kitura, this could easily turn into a 5 versus 3 situation. There goes a swing right between the green door of office and reception, but no one's going to become the victor there in that altercation.
A lot of pre-fires coming out through the walls because it is Kill House after all, and now Gnomes just seem to, or Kitura rather, seem to be kind of stalling. It is a 4v4. Dylan is playing close to Scooch with a shotgun, but it's a shotgun versus shotgun. It could end up deadly. Maze gets another one. That's 2 for him in the round. Can he get a triple? Kitura needs to start pushing. Luis pushes through the doors. I don't know what you're doing there, but Roach finally gets an entry for Kitura. There's still a man down
Ooh,
though. Oh!
there goes that swing. Actually looks like we might have a win
Hmm?
possible here. You rush into sight. Jet, the last one
Only
alive. He
one?
has 2 flashbangs here. He could honestly win this out in the
Oh
1
no.
versus 1. Mace falls back, but wins the fight with the mid
Oh!
AK. It's a clawback by the Gnomes. The lack of util usage by Jet there, a little bit of a head scratcher, and just in general by Kitura, because they were just hard stalled by a majority of the barbed wire and also the wallbang capabilities by the Gnomes in that second round, Boxy.
We keep talking about how gnomes seem to just give away map control for free, and that's true, and that's not something you want to do. But looking at Kitura, it seems like they don't know exactly how to attack those rooms that possibly has 5 defenders stacked in them, because we've seen that in round 1 in manager and accounting, where they were so reluctant to push in. They did end up getting the frags they needed, but it was like by the
Skin of their teeth. Lag detected. That's where we left off though when Box said that. We'll be back
Okay,
in a second.
boxy
There you
moment.
go.
Boxy moment.
Yeah, welcome back. You're good. You left
Thank
off at skin of their teeth.
Yeah, so they barely won their ones in in round
Yeah.
1, and then in round 2 again they got all the map control they needed, but then they didn't know how to push in through the room with like 5 defenders in it. So as much as we criticized Gnomes so far for giving up as much control and just stacking up as much as they have, I think Kitura are not sure exactly on how to attack that. So maybe it's not the worst thing in the world to play like that.
Yeah, still trying to wrap my head around it as well, because we've now seen 2 instances where it works and
Yeah, just
where it
not
doesn't.
fucking
Funny
just
enough,
to
on the
touch upon
tile
brick
set
houses,
of Bank,
because,
it didn't work,
most
where
teams, or at
basically
least
the
some
whole
teams
point
I've
of that
seen,
tile set is just
they often
waste
put,
time
like,
and
a
play for
mopper
Switch,
in brick
but it
houses,
didn't work at all
especially
for the
because they say, like,
Gnomes.
there's
And
very
then
little chance it's only
opposite
brick
happened on
house.
Kill
Then
House,
two, they've just,
and then it
people
worked.
done
Probably
economy
because we
using
had
brick
too much of a
where they
funnel
probably shouldn't have.
happen by
So you're gonna
Kitura,
have the
and I'm
mopper in
not
brick house just running it
110%
down
sure
at those long
if they
angles,
brought a
but
nade on Kill House as well, which kind of baffles me, because if they didn't, why? I don't think you would need to double nade on Factory by any means, so
yeah,
a bit of a head scratcher to
there was a
say the
nade.
least. There was a nade? Okay,
There
that's
was
a
a nade.
relief. I don't know where the hell they threw it then. Maybe at the top area near the
Yeah,
beginning choke
reception
parts?
barb,
Yeah,
reception
that
barb.
okay, that's what I thought it was then. Dylan probably should have pushed through that area instead, because he kind of got funneled heavily against
Yeah,
the tub player near the barb on the bottom. But oh
but
well, it happens.
he did try establishing the two-dimensional push because everyone else was just stalling on
Right.
reception. So respect to that. Maybe you don't want to have your shotgun player push alone. Having shotgun the
Yeah.
doors and have someone else swing and flash. But it is what it is. And speaking of flashes, that is the one thing that is going to be very detrimental in how Gnomes defend, their stacked up defense, because 2-3 well-placed flashes thrown at the same time can just destroy the whole team if they're all stacked in the same room. So they need to be extra careful of that. But so far, Kitura have not been excellent with, their flashbang usage. So maybe Gnomes can keep it up, at least for now.
One door charge here for Kitura. I mean, there aren't like a lot of other great places you can door charge, unless you think they're gonna like barb green door, then you can use it to save a nade, which isn't a horrible idea at all. But I'm not too sure what they want to do in terms of implementation. I could almost guarantee they'll have someone try to vibe near Van, even though they don't have a Saber on this round. It is always still a nice sightline to gather up, and it looks like they'll opt for almost a full commit inside of Fan. They've got people waiting here with stuns being pre-placed. Smoke is well tossed, the second one as well, so a lot of sightlines being cut off here. That could give an early entryway, and the Molotov was thrown way too far back, and that actually allowed to favor out the attack instead of Kitura. There is a quick trade, but all the map control that's been established so far is not half-bad for Kitura.
Yeah, also a few excellent shots coming out from the red card. I don't know if you've seen the one on the fan, but he's been known to be like the mop player. When I was talking to Sachi right before we casted our first games in due process, I was like, can you just give me a rundown on every team? And Sachi just goes, well, Gnomes recently picked up Reptard, and he's been known to be one of the better snipers, especially in rivals and like also against better players. And he's just been hitting those shots, even if it's just body shots. Doing 135 damage to an attacker is absolutely detrimental. It will change how they swing every angle. They'll be much more careful as opposed to having 150 HP. So props on the mopper, or to the mopper rather. But
Yeah.
2-1 for Kitura after the first 3 rounds, and now we're going to see the roles reversed, and Kitura will be defending with Gnomes attacking. What do you think? What are your predictions for the first half off of what you've seen so far?
It is 2-1 Gnomes, unfortunately, but you know what? We all make mistakes. My handoff was pretty bad on round 3 as well. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, oh, it's gonna take more time for Gnomes to retaliate, and then they got 3 kills instantly. I'm like, oh no, no, the caster blunder. Oh no, it happens though. Anyways, I think what we'll need to have perfected here by Kitura is remaining more dominant, because yeah, falling back for Switch, that's never a bad idea on Bank, but you need to know the boundaries. There's a line you end up crossing, or in this case, a line you kind of run away from because you're falling back. Don't give away too much for free, because there's going to be a form of capitalization done by the attack, and they're going to punish you for it. That main example was running into security for free, no barbed wire, no molly, no nothing at all. So they got to swing through green door, get a kill, and then alleviated all this pressure near the wall charge. So they got basically this whole chunk of accounting for free, and they had to worry about manager and the back players of accounting, and they were able to isolate those players because how much natural cover got in the way of the player near switch. So just remaining more confident and remaining more active in the round is going to be a big thing here for Kitura, especially since they're now at that minute deficit. It was only the first quarter of the match that we've seen so far, but if you keep making these same mistakes over and over again, it's going to turn out to be a lot worse than just a 2-1 split.
Yeah. Something that I always say on bank is that you as a defender need to make the attackers work to get button control. If you let them get to the button or even close to the button the first 30-45 seconds, there is no way in hell you're gonna retake a vault unless the attackers really blunder that specific round. Speaking of vault though, Dylan will be playing in it with one single molly, no barb, and a knack, which is pretty risky. And again, playing in vault can have its upside, but also then leave your team in a 4v5 outside on the rest of the bank, and that is probably not a good idea with how close most of the rounds have been, except for the last one where Gnomes just kind of slaughtered everyone on Kitura. You know, all of the rounds, or rounds 1 and 2 at least, came down to 1v1s and 1v2s, so having one person locked away instantly, I don't know if that's the best idea right now for Gnomes, honestly, or Kitura, excuse me.
Especially with the nag, if you bring 3 clips and really use one, that's now 2-3 nag clips for an attacker, which is such a strong thing to have, especially in the wheelhouse, as your next tile set here. In terms of heart destruction, it's going to be a full eco save done by the attackers of Gnomes, which isn't the worst idea, but now you can fall back pretty heavily into the counting and even hold security. But here comes the rush, stuns come flying in, moving too late, -1, the dog can miss that first shot, and now you have control of accounting. The player with the knack merchant, the last one here, will actually open up the switch here, so that way Muse could potentially fall back inside a vault. That's not the worst option here, as it is a 3v3, and if you can isolate in this position, it's not going to be completely over for Kitura, but they need to be able to either find this pick onto Index, and they end up doing just that, so now it's only the two attackers left in security. They have to funnel in, and here comes the crossfire by both Roach and Muzey. The fallback, brilliant. Honestly, that was a really good play by Kitura, and that actually saved their skin on that round.
Yeah, it's like, hey, let's have some people playing the button early on. So, like I said, they need to work for it. Let's make them work for it. Let's, you know, make them use their H, and most importantly, their utility. But also, when we're about to get overwhelmed, let's just fall back and let's hold closer to the vault so we can contest them once again. And this was actually a perfect bank round in terms of rotations from Kitura, I believe. I don't think I've seen a better round personally. And this is a strong claim, so please don't expose me in chat. Thank you. But 2-2, fella.
Yeah.
I mean, I meant in general. I'm not speaking about just this game. I think this was one of the best bank plays I've ever seen on defense. I could be very wrong, and Chad is going to roast me to hell. But you know what? Whatever. Killhouse. What do you think? Did Kitura make the same mistakes of relinquishing map control very early on? Or do they maybe hold on for just a little bit longer and contest Gnomes more aggressively? Maybe.
They'll definitely need to be as aggressive as they were on bank, or at least as proactive as they were, especially since we had a full heart destruction save done by Gnomes, so they can kind of do whatever the hell they want on Killhouse. They have ideas of maybe having someone play for like a cutoff angle in Breezeway in case there's a Mopper in Brick House, which isn't a bad idea because they have free access of sight if they do this wall charge play that they're implementing here, and that's still only 1 charge, and next round, even if they lose Clacker this one, they're still going to have one for round number 6, so they really have the world at their fingertips if they're just able to implement what they want here quite well. So again, it's going to be up to Kitura to remain proactive so they don't get caught with their pants down here.
Look at this wall. Oh, it just got deleted. As I was about to say, look at this wall charge. They had a wall charge placed on this wall on the bump. There we go. Yep. So that would have been very interesting to see. But also, instead, they just opted to bring a door charge for. Yep, we're literally the same person. We're thinking about the same things. They opted to bring a door charge for the barb, just like you've mentioned, I think, on the factory earlier, and that is something that maybe, you know, the attacker should do if they have an extra charge to spare. They're still saving 2 breaches, if I'm not mistaken, for a factory. I will need to start taking notes on who uses what when. But for now, let's just see if maybe, just maybe, Gnomes can take another round and propel themselves forward once again, or if...
Or if lag detected. Never know. Pardon the minor off there as well. Mistake. Happens. We did see last second as well a slight change of double charging here instead for like a back take in hallway, which isn't bad because there's only like 1 good door charge play. Or 2 on factory, which is either you blow up green door to deny bombs and save the nade later, or you open up fan, which you're gonna get funneled into the place with hyperworks and also office as well. So reaching open hallway and then trying to break bar on the green door is not a bad idea. That's not the hardest place at all. Muse tries to swing out wide, not find anything just yet, and Mace actually cuts him down. Full auto player of Jet will try to find a wall bang. Do it. Forget one, but this is a quick response by Scooge. You almost have full sight control, and Roach gets caught in the molly near Breezeway. It's Dylan left alive with the knack and a dream. He'll try to overextend, but the brace is not strong enough at that distance. What a dominant round by the Gnomes. And again, now they have full auto, they have a bunch of defender weapons and a clacker, and they didn't even bring a nade on that round too. They are going to be looking quite strong in terms of economy moving into round number 6, Box.
I don't know what's happening here. Like, these rounds are so extremely fast, and I don't know. Half of the rounds are like they go into 1v1s and last second pushes, and then half the rounds are just like one-sided sweeps for Gnomes. And I don't know what's happening. Like, you can tell it's thrown our pacing off because we never know what's about to happen. Yeah, it almost feels like I'm watching like two different teams playing in place of Gnomes, really, because when some rounds they're super slow and they lose their gunfights, but they somehow bring it back, and then in some rounds they just sprint in, they get all the kills they need, and it's over. But also, yes, Roach getting stuck in a barbed wire while Dylan throws a molly didn't help.
Echo called me out in the Twitch chat as well for trying to go for my water jug while we went to cams. I always forget that we instantly go to cams after every round, but that's okay because I can just drink water while you're talking, so it's all right. Anyways,
Factory.
This is, again, going to be a very deadly round for Kitura to play against because of how stacked the Gnomes are, that they really have everything at their fingertips. And one of the main reasons why they didn't want to wall charge on last round is they remembered, oh, hey, we can wall charge open up Dock. That's pretty good almost every single time here. Even if it doesn't give you a lot of map control, it just gives you a lot of sight lines to play around, and it denies a good chunk of pipe works. So it's still quite powerful. And then if they want to, they could also go green as well. They don't have to fully commit here to Dock. But with the fact that we have a bunch of smokes being deployed here in the prep phase, I think they're going to want to have at least, 3 people at the very least stacked up inside of Dock. So, it only makes sense that they want a full commit here rather than just going green.
Okay, I like detected over. It's extra bad today, so my apologies. But it does look like we're going to see the first lights play of the game today on round 6. And it makes sense that she commit most, like 4 people on that breach, if not just, full swing it with 5. Throw out the smokes, throw out the flashes, stake office. Not only is office super strong with that window, it has pretty much overview of like the entire middle half of the map. You can see all the way down to docks if anyone's hiding in the trucks, or at least the shutters on the trucks you can see down next to conveyors. Like, there's so much you can do with that. And then also you can pull lights at the same time. We've seen some flares marked on the map from the defenders, but when the lights are pulled, the attackers have the upper hand, no question. Unless somehow as a defender you kill a few attackers, pick up those NVGs, but that's a huge if. So let's see what they do. It looks like they are going to push 5-man dog though.
I figured they would opt for that because trying to, single yourself out is not the wise decision. Get control here, and they're gonna do just that. Dylan is so confused now that he is fully blinded as the lights get turned off. 3 versus 3, but you've got the Saber. Just play for range at this point. That Mop player is almost useless, and he'll now be put in the dirt. Muse is the only one left to stand here for Kitura, and it's a 1 versus 3. Lewis is low, and he'll fall instantly. Now it's a 1 versus 2, but Scooge is there with the instant refrag, and they've got more than enough time to just end out this second half with a pretty decent lead of 4-2. Yeah, that was the best option here. Just bombard everyone in office, turn out their vision basically by hitting the lights, and then now you've got all these long ranges to play with that Saber, and the rest of your team can just get up close and personal. So that was a great job done by the Gnomes, and a really good read all the way back on Kill House to notice we actually should save the breach, the main wall charge, to go for that play.
Yeah. I also just kind of want to, we don't see the map anymore because we're loaded into the next round, and you also see our beautiful faces, so there's that. But I just want to point out how Reptard on the Saber, like in the last round, he kind of wrapped around down as far close to the docks as he could, just so that he could get a long angle, but still a wraparound on whoever the last Kitura player was. I think it was Muzey, because they had lost Lewis at that point, and Scooter was pushing the upper side. He just kind of wrapped around really nicely while still maintaining distance for the Saber. So props on, positioning from Reptar from that round. I've been a hard Reptar fan today. I don't know what's happening, but
well, I mean, if he's
yeah.
playing good, then I mean, I don't blame you, and it kind of is doing his job, all that. And I think we have stats opened up right now. Yeah, I mean, everyone is
Yep.
really just kind of doing their thing. I mean, Dylan is a little low on damage, but he's still, like, the one kill he got was a pretty impactful one, so that's not even horrible. I mean,
Yeah.
me being a low damage player, I know every now and again I will fall my frags, and they are helpful, so, hey, I feel you there, brother.
Mega copium. But well, the thing with
Hey, come
Dylan is
on.
the thing with Dylan is two things. So first of all, he's the IGL. He's usually the one that's like kind of telling people you
Right.
did this, you did that. Like, it across multiple shooter games, or I think every game really. The IGLs are very rarely also the fraggers.
Yeah.
Usually the big brain is kind of in the back lines playing like the support, or while they let the brainless people, not the brainless people, but you know what I mean, like the Argo people shoot. I
No,
love you,
Argo is brainless. He actively says,
I,
I don't think.
I don't
But
think. I know. I
I
love
think
you,
it's more or
Argo.
less a joke.
And then yeah, the second part about Dylan is that the rounds that that in the 4 rounds that Gnomes have won, Dylan was left in a 1vx at least 2 of those times, and you just can't do much there. When you're playing against the coordinated team, you'll get flashed out, you'll get pushed from 2-3 different spots at the same time. So having that low damage makes sense. Okay, we're not gonna pick on my favorite bro just yet, but if we see him with a lot of shots on stream, then he's fair game.
So,
Kill
going
them.
up here, now on, yeah, Kill Dome. Real bullets, real danger, real excitement. We'll do the actual announcer voice one of these days when the announcer actually says that when we go into the game. We haven't had it happen a lot at the moment. So far, it looks like, beach play. You almost always want to go for beach no matter what tile set it is on Dome. There's only a couple examples where you wouldn't want to do that if you want to, like, fully commit to one of the red doors. But you go into beach, drop down in base, and then you start clearing an observation, having to deal with that barbed wire. Then you can hop down into the jungle and go for that pick, perhaps. It looks like there will be no emphasis inside of pit, but the defenders, they're not opting to go pit either, and they'll also fall back incredibly early on, which is something we've seen done by Kitura, and that's going to give a lot of free map control away, and they only have one barb to play off of. This could be a bit of an issue. And, that nade didn't get the barb, but it caught Merchant. That's still a pretty big impact.
First of all, why was there no observation contention from the defenders at all? They just let it slip. I was going to comment on how there were no smokes at all coming out from the attackers. They didn't end up needing him. Dylan gets the kill. He gets the second one in his goal. Up to the 3 remaining attackers. Make that 2 as it's all up to Reptard and Index, and they're also separated apart. Index flashes and pushes apart, or forward rather. Jed Roach stacked up. Muse also holding a similar angle. There we go. Raptor falls well. Index has to find 3, and they're all stacked up. Jed is the first one to push, and he will fall. But now Roach is on the refrag, and Muse is wrapping around.
Not looking good. Ooh. Index finds Jed at least. Unfortunate lag detected there. It'll happen, and hiding in the grass. It's Muse. I think one of the only reasons why that funnel actually worked out for the defense is because the barb didn't get broken, to be honest, Boxy. So, yeah, they got a kill on Merchant, but the nades almost always used for barbed wire. So they got stuck here. They couldn't really leave. They needed to deal with that sight line, the long bridge sight line too. Unfortunate, because I can almost guarantee they didn't want that nade to kill somebody. They wanted to break the barbed wire that was keeping them at a distance.
I'm still upset at defense for just not having anyone in observation. There was one person playing on like the back doors. I was gonna say like, oh, they're 5-manning beach. How are there no smokes? How are they gonna contest observation? And then I look at observation and there is no one actually in there. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? Observation, such a powerful position to hold. Unless the attackers go for lights, or if you've pulled them yourself as a defender for whatever ungodly reason, observation is always such a critical vantage point. Not only is it almost always elevated, or I think actually always elevated up above the ground level, you also see on the outside of it from the inside. It's so strong, and it's relatively easy to hold, or at least burn a lot of utility before you fall back. So not having anyone there and just having 5-man stack ruins, yes, it did end up working for you, Kitura, but was it the right play? I'm sorry, I don't think so. But it is what it is. Round 8, 3 versus 4 in favor of Gnomes right now, and Kitura have the chance to catch up to them once again. Will they do it, though? C-Store. Yes or no?
I don't know. We've got the full auto here. Jet might be
No.
opted to bring out that powerful shotgun here. Probably not a bad idea. I hate to always sound like a broken record, but this is such a good map in general, almost no matter what tile set it is, to bring out a full auto. Because you're not going to almost always go for a full-fledged storefront rush. That almost... You're going to want to get control of storefront, but then you got to funnel these small rooms, and if your flashes aren't right, or, you know, if your full auto player just, kind of vibe around the flashes, not get blinded, he could deal a lot of damage. And even run out potential, that's always possible too. So I think almost no matter what, you want to bring a full auto, and I'm glad Jet's going to be showing us this delight here on round number 8, Boxy.
I cannot believe you just used the words good and C-store in the same sentence. I don't know if I told you that. I think I mentioned it, but I've spoken to all the teams, apart from maybe one, I'm not sure. I spoke to at least 7 of the playing teams before the major, and I was like, what would you say is your best and worst talent set, and why? And I think out of the 7 teams, at least 5 if not 6 said, oh yeah, C-stores are worse. We don't know what the hell to do. So, no. Sorry, C-store, no bueno. At least not for me, not for those people that I know. I feel like it's very stale, yet very, I don't know, chaotic even. And all of those small rooms, you know, yes, they can be fun to play around with the shotgun, but back to the round, I guess, at the entry net is falling to the auto shotgun index very low. He gets one, but gets refrag. Lose gets one as well. But now it's a 3v2 situation where the attackers have lost not only their manpower, but all of their utility, and they only have an AP 25 on 50 HP on Lewis, and then Reptard with full HP, but hard outside on those long angles with the Saber. Can he actually make this work? They have a lot of time, but that's the only thing that I have going on for them. Lewis has picked up a flash at least. Fellow, take it away.
With pleasure. Jet, I don't know why you wanted to get that aggro. I think he assumed people would be pressuring him in the backside of storefront near office door, so he was like, oh, I'll swing out and get another one here. No, they're much farther back. He should have just retreated at that point, and I think Reptar's gone on a save, so I can continue my color for a little while, because that play in the back area, yeah, that was great, got rid of Scooge, and thank God the rest of Jet's team did actual work to deny that play around Frigid and storefront, because if not, you just lost your full auto player, and it's going to be 10 times more challenging to actually keep obs in your back pocket. You get shutters opened up, and now your Saber player has all of these angles to work around and not just this single little cut open hole by that wall charge. So really lucky and convenient that the rest of his team played like a team and just were able to hold the positions that they were granted in that round. So this is going to be 4-4 now, completely evened up by Kitura, as in the second half, they are looking like they've made a ton of major improvements so far, and unfortunately, it looks like the Gnomes are starting to fall behind.
Yep. Also, props to Urchin for getting the double there. He got both Mace and Index, so, you know, props on that one. But like we said, 4-4, and it's, you know, it's kind of getting hot in here. We said that this would be a very close game, but we are nearing a tie even, and that means we could or will probably be going to 3 maps if that ends up happening. And even if not, even if like a team pulls up ahead, I still think 3 maps are on the table. Gnomes have looked stronger for most of the match, but not enough, not distinctively enough. Like, Kitura are still either trailing behind barely or tied with Gnomes. So 3 maps, I think, are a likely thing to happen unless one of the teams really falls off drastically in the next few games.
Right. And again, just want to talk about like team play. Everyone didn't really like, other than Jet, which I mean, you almost always want to try to overextend to a certain degree with a full auto. I mean, everyone but Jet really overextended on that round, or Jet was the only one who extended on that round. I might have said that the wrong way, unfortunately. But other than that, everyone just kind of, you know, fell back. They're like, you know what? They've got a Saber. If we don't peek the Saber and let the rest of the attack come to us, then we're going to win. That's how you want to play, like, really basically as a defender. That's just oversimplification of how a defender's supposed to play. They have to come to us. Let's play into that one strength. And they did. So good job for Kitura to now even things up 4-4. Going into round number 9, we're heading back to bank. Different tile set, no brainer here. I feel like you can't get the same tile set other than like the round rotations, of course, in like a quote-unquote rank/comp game. So this time around, Vault's still in lobby, just in a different corner, of course, and then the switch is like really isolated. So having this double charge play is not a bad idea because like the only way you could comfortably get into hall is like through security, and that's just going to take a lot of time unless you wanted to like wall charge this back wall here. But I mean, they've already used a wall charge, so they can't do that, of course.
GB have ruined you. Every time you get on bank, you just look for walls to wall charge, man. You're not the same as you used to be. I don't know what
But it's so
to you.
cool. Like EK's got a point. He's
God.
like, nah. This is really cool. You should do this. And I'm like, yeah. And
Global
Foxy's like,
Breakout
no,
has
you
ruined
need to
you.
bait with me. Fella, you need to bait with me. I'm the sniper. You're the close quarters guy. We need to play up each other. And I'm like, nah, wall charge gang.
Oh my god, I look how they massacred my boy. But the button will get pressed, and this time it's gonna be Jet playing in the vault. He will have the auto shotgun instead of Dylan's neck. Also a barbed wire to help him out. No mollies though, which could be a problem. But once again, you're just leaving yourself in a 4v5. Which, am I a fan of? No. Can it work out? Definitely. Main entrance will get blown though, but it's only 2 people there. It's Index and Raptard, and then Loans get double blown. Actually, I very much doubt that we also would see a wall charge here, as we already seen a double breach. But it's Scooch, Luis, and Mace on the Loans push. Mollies are coming out, but they really don't hit anything important. Also, flashes now from the attackers. They try and get the control of Hole, but most players, actually everyone from Kitura, has already fallen off. The first points of contention we both Dylan and Merchant. I think Merchant just mollied himself, so that's very unlucky. Now he's stuck in bathroom, but maybe they will not expect him in there. Also, Dylan just playing for those wall banks and almost connects, but not enough. Scooge on 50 HP though, and we'll have to play the round carefully from now on.
Ooh, a couple mollies being wasted very early on. Yeah, Merchant will need to play here to die, essentially. There goes second molly, but at least it was a trade between that and a flash grenade. A lot of time just being wasted. I like the reposition here by Roach. That could maybe help to actually kill Reptard here, because he's playing here basically for cutoff angles, and you can't do that good of a job if you're that far back in entrance. You're kind of just vibing around and forcing a 4-on-4 intentionally. So with all this time being wasted, Switch has been hit, but no one's actually rotated around just yet on the attacking side. They'll now begin to make that movement there. Reptard almost gets one. Scooge will fall hallway, and here's the play by Roach. Gets one. There goes the double kill. A massive amount of damage here, but not a confirmed kill just yet. It's finally gone down. Reptard now has to overextend, the last attacker alive here for the Gnomes, and he really is in a rock and a hard space. Multiple angles to worry about, both security and the island, essentially, this couch area, and it will be Dylan to be Reptard's demise, essentially. 5-3 there for Kitura, because they just they basically forced Gnomes to waste so much of their own time, essentially, but I felt like that also had to do with just Gnomes kind of, you know, wasting their own time too.
Yep. Urchin on a double kill again. This time it was Dylan as his second. But it is what it is. You know, 9th round, it's the last of the set, which means the econ doesn't matter. But I guess we get team kill. It still counts towards the death. I'm not sure if it counts in post round, but you know, pad your teammates' stats. Don't kill them. Well, don't do that. Anyways, Dome, C-Store, and Beck are the last 3 rounds we'll be seeing, and Kitura finally takes the lead. They need one more round, and they bring it to match point. And when they bring it to match point, they can only either win or tie. There's no losing for them. So if they get this one more round, then they can play, you know, they can chill, they can play passively, and it's Gnome's time to really go for those risky plays to get them the advantages. I think we may be seeing a lights push here. Just how you see the arrow from pit into jungle. Is that more breachable though? Because it's black on top, and I know that there has been a bug where some walls have been marked as black, but I think that one specifically is breachable. Yeah. So if you press space, if you look at set view, like they're green, yeah, and the outside walls are black. So I think it's just like a design thing that hasn't been fixed yet, but that should be breachable, and you know, and honestly, it probably should be. So lights, but actually, wait,
now they want to go water.
Maybe. I mean, the thing with water is it makes a lot of noise, but it also kind of gives you a little bit of cover as you're below the ground level. So I get both plans. I still like blowing up, you know, the angle out of electric or out of pit, out of the button a little bit more.
I think it's for that sightline instead. You did like to attack the SWAT. I'm cutting you off, unfortunately, but I like the wall charge in your lights as well, just because high ground, you can kind of see over like all of the grass and the logs. So that's one big chunk of the map gone. And you shouldn't need this sightline for this, you shouldn't. You should have someone playing top here, try to get past the barbed wire and then push out wide like that. Then you're forcing a fallback here, and that's a fun. So I also am a big fan of this wall charge play because it incentivizes not funneling yourself here. And that's like the biggest problem with attacks is that you get funneled. Oof, that volume has done a lot of damage as well. That could have been really bad boxing.
True, but look at this. At least we have one person, two people actually now in observation, and that is something that I was missing when Gnomes were attacking this very same map. And thankfully, they are actually, you know, maybe they're listening to me. Maybe they're like, yo, guys, didn't do this. We need to do that. But we have 5 people on beach now, and Dylan is ready to push into bid. He's just waiting for backup from his teammates. Flashes will be coming out, hopefully, but Index will be contesting those doors. And that is a very nice molly. It lands just a little bit too deep, and so people can actually push into the pit. Merchant gets Index, and that is the entry that Kitura needed. Reptar is getting fired at. He has the mop, and he can hit those bullets, but he needs the headshots. He's playing for a kick on those doors, which is pretty good. But the lights have been
player as well. Close call there as well. Wall charge goes off. Here goes the push inside a jungle. There's Muzey. Down goes Stooge. It's a huge impact play up in Bridges. Mace the last one alive. He has to deal with his own barbed wire as well. There was no way in hell he was expecting to kind of play with Abrupt right in front of his own 2 eyes. The aggression, the outward extension by Kitura will guarantee them match point territory here on the first set. This is honestly a much better adaptation done by Kitura, completely ignoring observation. And I talked about it during the prep phase. If they can fully flush out Bridges and jungle, then you have to fall back and deal with your own barbed wire. And guess what happened? It was one player, and he had to run through 4 different attackers and a barbed wire. No way in hell you're going to come back from that.
We finally saw some observation control coming out from the defenders, but the problem is the people in observation were still too passive. They saw 5 people cross from beach into you know, base and then go into pit, and it wasn't contested at all. And playing for intel, that is solid, but when you let 5 people pass, you should be asking yourself, should I flank here? Should I rotate around and start contesting? You can't just let 5 people pass right in front of you without doing anything about it. So, you know, I like the initial setup from Gnomes more than I did Kitura's on the same map, but then Kitura still ended up playing it better, and they'd end up winning the round, even if it was just because of a lucky barbed wire surviving a nade. So, props to Kitura, I guess. They have really pulled it back. I've said that they've been kind of trailing behind or matching out with Gnomes, but in the last few rounds, really, Kitura has been up ahead. And let's see if they can get this one more round that they really desperately need on C-Star. If they can finish it out 7-4, I think that's a huge, huge blow to Gnomes' ego. And I'm super curious to see what they end up doing here.
So, one minute thing, the barbed wire in arcade, like that much more, because you can play out this 10 times easier than just putting it right against the door. Also, then you have to commit a nade. You can't just door charge that. So, if I were the attacking team of Kitura, I would almost always want to like probably fully commit here on this round. It does seem really risky, of course, because there could be another round they could play without OT, but their momentum game is just top notch right now. And I mean, the bank tile set is a bit of a wonky one too. So rather not go to it than play it at all. But the more and more I think about it now, maybe double charging is way too risky if your next tile set is bank. So I'll probably hold my tongue on that, to be honest. That does seem kind of like a Mickey take. So my mistake on that. Bank is always hard to eco on. I don't like ecoing on bank. No one likes ecoing on bank. It sucks.
Agreed. So
Yes.
6-4.
Whoops.
I like Louis in the auto shotty. I think it's a very risky play to have him out in the open like that. You've picked the one really minutes. And game 1 fella was over, and my camera froze on the worst moment. Oh my god, this is gonna get clipped, and the emotes are gonna be made out of this again. Not the first time even.
Yeah.
What do you think of game 1?
Great recovery by Kitura, honestly. Yeah, that was pretty good, because I thought that Gnomes with all of their like forward momentum in like the first 6 rounds, I was like, okay, maybe it's gonna be like 7-4, 7-5 victory for them. No, Kitura, they made like a phenomenal recovery. They started playing as a team again. Clearly the communication was much better because they were playing off each other. They just seemed more fluid in everything that
Okay.
they did on their rounds. So it's going to be up to the Gnomes now to bounce back, clearly, because they just lost the first set in the best of three, obviously. But it really seemed like they were the ones that started getting clunky. They started getting sloppy in their play style. So I'm hoping that in the next series, we'll get to discuss more of that adaptation and recovery by both teams for the most part. In terms of damage, I mean, there is a clear set difference. We got to see on the stats for like a brief moment there, but damage
Hmm.
wasn't like a huge issue overall for the Gnomes, especially when they were the ones that were kind of,
Okay.
rolling about. I mean, Mace was the only one that actually got past the 1K club and even got the funny number. But I think they just weren't allowing themselves to like manage winnable gunfights. I think that's the reason why their damage kind of turned lackluster once we got into that second half. Whereas again, Kitura, they started playing like a team. They knew what they needed to do and what they probably weren't going to get away with against the Gnomes. So then they started just upping the ante. I mean, Dylan almost went neutral as well as IGL. That's not bad at all.
Yeah. Scooch going 0-3 on N3 though. He's never gonna hear the end of that. So Scooch.
Yep.
Also, on the flip side, Jet 4-4 on entry. So that's very admirable. That's a very good stat for an entry fragger. And we've seen him get those impactful kills. Even with the auto shotty, when I was like, why are you doing that? He kind of ended up getting at least a few kills out of it. So, props to Jet, props to both teams. I think we're gonna have a 5-minute break here. Yeah, we will. I think we're just going off. I don't think we're gonna keep talking for those 5 minutes. We need water, and we'll be back in those 5 minutes. So don't go anywhere. Hey yo, and we are back. So that was a short break. We had to get the PC stuff handled. Once again, sorry for the last round not really being shown on our stream. EK is not a biased producer, I swear. His PC was down bad, like he said, but we got that fixed and we should be good for game 2 of, like we've previously mentioned, but if you just join us, Kitura versus Gnomes. And Kitura took map 1, or game 1 rather, relatively easily compared to what we thought would happen. So, fellow, why, how, and how does the game 2 go?
Well, the Gnomes, I feel like they gotta at least get a match against Kitura. I'm not saying Kitura is a bad team because we saw them, realize what their problems were, and they're like, okay, let's change our problems. Let's play as a team. Let's, go for plays that our opponents didn't want to. And, they noticed what was and wasn't working for them. So they just, again, played to their strengths. So I'm not saying that, Kitura, they're just going to kind of fall off or something in this next matchup. But I'm also saying that Gnomes, they're also going to try to replicate what Kitura were doing in a sense of now we need to play more as a team because I feel like they were going for a couple hero plays here and there. They were making a couple big mistakes and also letting Kitura get away with a lot of stuff as well too in the last matchup. So again, it'll be a close one. Can almost guarantee that. But I feel like we'll need to see a full best of 3 to see who actually remains in the top bracket here and proceeds to the finals and who actually gets knocked down to play against either GB or Danger Doodles after they play their semifinals at 3:30 today.
Here, but it's in Gnomes' court now. They gotta step up. They gotta fix their mistakes on the fly, and they gotta prevail over Kitura in order for us to actually get that third game. So can they do it? I think yes. Will they do it? Possible, but it's not a guarantee. They have lost game 1 7-4, or 4-7 rather, and I don't know. It losing like that kind of scuffs your mental at least a little bit. So hopefully they can, the 5 minutes kind of help them rejuvenate and they come back stronger than before. But the first map that we will be seeing will be Kill House with a very strong pillbox in the middle. So that is definitely going to be a point of contention, and that really just depends. By the looks of it, defense is preparing more for a kitchen breach there. But there are also a few barbs and mollies in office just in case the attackers decide to go there as well. Also, those barbs work for reception. So kind of an okay setup. Nothing really to especially highlight out here just yet. What do you think?
Well, what I think is what everyone's thinking. You need to clear out pillbox here. I mean, that's the no-brainer. That's the dead giveaway play you've got to do. So it's going to be up to the Gnomes to play around getting rid of that pillbox control and then actually putting it in their own hands, because if they get pillbox control, they cut off half of club and can probably go for a much easier plant, especially if they also clear out the top stage too. So based off of their setup, they're either going to go red door of office and double charge pillbox, or they're going to just go through reception, then go into office and then charge pillbox, get that control, and then move the rest of their way towards the bottom half of the map, because you cannot wall charge this double wall here. I've tried it before in casual and ranked,
Of course you
the
have.
wall is bugged. Yeah, the wall is bugged. Yeah, because it's a good idea on paper, because
Oh
you
my
get pillbox
God.
control and you go through green. That's only one charge. And you've got all these sight lines. You only got to worry about stage. But no, the game's like, nah, you can't breach that and get through it. So thanks.
Do you guys see what I
Appreciate
gotta
that.
leave with? Yeah, this
I
is what I
get
deal with on the
punished.
daily.
I get punished for coming up with good ideas because the game thinks it's funny to troll me. I don't find it very funny at all. But
I for one, find it hilarious, but back to the game. Gnomes have just spearheaded into office. Perhaps will be the first one to fall to merch stunt. Actually, shirt, sorry, my bad. But they're all just funneling through, and somehow it's working. Fluster coming out, the merchant could be a problem. He's hiding in the corner. Scooch doesn't check the corner, neither is Louis, and they both fall. Mace is also there. And he will finally get it, actually, but now it's Dylan and Jed. Hughes will be the one to fall, so we're in a 2v2, but Mace lost a little bit of HP. Index will also fall. And so will Mace on a double from Jet, who's just been showing up today when needed. But Scooch, check your goddamn corners. And that goes for, I think it was Louis as well. I'm not sure. But, why? Why are you not checking corners? That was so free. The guy was flashed in that corner for 10 seconds. And if you just look to the left, just move your mouse. Put your right hand on the mouse and move it to the left once you walk by. And you will see someone hiding in the corner. This is like a live pro tip. I think I was speaking to Sachi a while back, and he was like, I was like, okay, so what do you think makes the biggest difference between like good and bad teams? And one of the things, like, it was a very small thing, one of the things he ended up mentioning was like, good teams use utility like flashes and nades and smokes, but they still check their corners. Like, and this is especially prevalent on bank that we're going to be seeing in just a second whenever Ikazo switches to actual bank. But you know, you have someone playing in those lobby corners on the doors quite often, and then bad teams will just throw in those flashes, and they will not actually check the corners if anyone got flashed. They will just spearhead in and then get shot in the back, and that is exactly what Gnomes did. And we were just talking about how they need to step up, but then they make beginner mistakes like that, and it doesn't make me very hopeful for Gnomes, at least not yet, not from what I've seen. And I really hope they can pull this back, but I don't know. I am disappointed, and I'm more frustrated than I probably should be right now.
Yeah, I think one of the big things to look at as well was that they didn't clear pillbox at all, and we were harping on how annoying and how powerful pillbox is for that tile set. Yet they just threw a flash out, went for a couple wall bangs, and was like, "All right, job well done. Let's just go into site now." And then they also didn't check corners as well. It just became a tremendous lack of understanding that you need to clear that out. I think they just wanted to kind of be lazy on that round, which no, you should try to take as many rounds as you can early on. And like you mentioned, utility consumption, big thing on bank here as well. So this main push, it's going to be a pretty challenging one as well. I mean, you've got smokes being kind of proxied in back of tellers. That's always common. Got a smoke as well for hallway, which is nice because this is a really annoying angle to deal with, and you can just play for a swing like that. So I like that idea as well. But you still gonna have to worry about the funnel here unless you want to potentially wall charge here on this play, which the defenders, Kitura, they think that's what's going to happen, but I think it's only going to be a one charge play implemented by Kitura.
On the angle you highlighted from, you know, hole to main entrance, if someone other than Jed was playing it, Jed is up next to the button now, but if someone was playing it, I'd prefer someone with like a long AK or even a Ningmar, like a longer range weapon, because the Gruber just holds off in damage so hard that, you know, contesting the attackers who probably have the saber with them is not very viable. But the smokes are coming out, so are the flashes. Lewis just pulls up the colors to see if anyone's in there, but there's no one to be caught out, sadly. Everyone's just kind of stagnating on the left side of the map now, and they need to start pushing. They do not have the nade for the barbs, and there's 3 of them just in accounting alone, and that could be a huge problem. They need to start actually taking control of the map. They need to go for hallway of security. They spot one. Mace gets mollied, and he loses a little bit of HP, but the button finally gets pushed, and there's still a lot of time on the clock. They just need to not stagnate for once, and Mace gets taken down as the first one Index also fails to get the V-frag. That's one for Dylan, one for Roach, one for Jet. Reptar gets the first one for Gnomes, but maybe too little too late as it's a 2v4. And there we go, a second one for Reptar. He's single-handedly bringing this back, but now Lewis is all alone in accounting. Reptar is outside main, he cannot help out his teammate. There's 2 involved, and Dylan is very close to Lewis. There's just a small wall separating them, and I don't think they're aware of each other at the moment. This could go very wrong very fast, fellow, as there's only 45 seconds left on the clock, and no flashes in pockets of either Reptar or Lewis.
And big issue as well, hitting that switch. It forced yourself to funnel in the full auto player and Dylan. Look at this. They have to just run in through here and pray they win their ones. That is one less sight lane to worry about, but even though that's technically like a half and half commitment there, it's still going to favor the defense because they have full auto player right here, so he can just play around this natural cover and then swing you when you get put in the barbed wire, and you've got Dylan here with an AK. That actually did more damage than help. And
Dylan!
He's going to actually be more impactful than a majority of the Gnomes there in round number 2, as I believe you did just... No, you did not lose your full auto player. You did lose a player, period. The Clacker
and the KR, by the way.
was saved. Yeah, the Clacker and also Saber was saved by Repart, but oh my god, that was such a bad play. Like, if you're going to have someone just sit near the switch as well for that, don't hit switch. Wait until you have fully cleared out that back accounting area, then hit switch. Yep. I don't understand that. That was such a bad idea.
Gnomes are really, I don't know, they seem to be forgetting the basics at the moment. And I'm not saying they don't have their basics owned, because obviously they do. They're one of the better teams, and they've been performing exceptionally well throughout the major. They even took out GB, something that no one has done for quite a while in official games. But they seem to be forgetting about those basics at the moment, and it's not turning out well for them. They're 0-2 down, not to mention that they went 4-7 last game. So they need to start, you know, just kind of taking it back, running back to the basics, and working on those first before really complicating it over. What do you think they do here? Storage seems likely, but also red blow and lights is, you know, something that they can go for. I think every blow that you do here, besides maybe office, is very worth. Doc, you get a lot of angles in there. Red, you get 2 lights very fast. Green, you just get free control without actually using up any explosives. So maybe 2 go in server and then 3 storage, or even 2 storage, 3 dock or something like that. I think all of that works. But from what we've seen plays from the attacker so far, there will actually be a door charge coming into office, which I find a little bit interesting. Especially coupled with that dock breach. I don't know. If you wanted to push office, that's fine. But then I think what you do is you have like 2-3 people, maybe even go office, 2 go storage, and you just take the whole right side of the map. You just section it off. With the split that they're kind of doing right now, I think they're taking on a little bit too much for them. I think it's more that they can chew at the moment, especially with how shaky their basics have been, like I mentioned a couple of times. And I don't know. Like, look at how heavily Kitura's preparing for server farm. Look at all the doodles in there. Like, they are...
Yeah, the drawings.
First of all, exceptional drawing. Whoever that is, you should be an artist. But more importantly, Kitura's just expecting a server push because it makes a lot of sense. But what Gnomes are choosing to do, I'm failing to see the sense of that. With how many angles it opens up and how many angles you can be swung from in this huge factory with pipe forks and docks being one. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I get the idea of wanting to double breach here, like office and dock, because if you get office, then you can cut off a lot of like the sight lines that would counteract a dock play, but you still need to worry about the players in container. I was gonna mention that, and immediately Dylan just sprints into the back middle box. He's just 5 and 6 neck, so a lot of wall penetration there is capable by the Brit himself. And yeah, we've got the late charge with an alt walk being attempted near dock, with office already being breached, but really to no avail. I mean, you burn through 2 mollies, that's kind of nice. But other than that, I mean, you've got no map control. You're just kind of waiting for that perfect moment to strike. And once again, we talked about how Kitura, they're comfortable falling back. They've already given up office for free, essentially. They're waiting for the overcommitment, and it plays into the cards of Roach. But there goes a big nade. Down goes Roach, and Merchant already fell with the full auto, I believe it to be, too. So honestly, not the worst start here, but you're still going to need to worry about A, the mop, and B, the knack in the hands of both Jet and Dylan here.
Yeah, also, don't forget the Muse. He's the only one we didn't mention from defense. He can...
Oh, no. I'll wait for him to come back. It's a little lag detected there. I think we get the idea, though.
I really hate it here. Anyways, Mace gets one, Jet gets another one though, so now we're in a 3v3, but Mace gets a second one actually, that is Jet pulling off, and it's all up to Muse to clutch it out with the KR. He's flanking from office, and Reptar's not looking at him. That's a free kill, but he needs to fire the people on the bomb at the moment. He gets taken out by Index, and that is a round for Gnomes when we least expected it. And we were, at least I personally, was very harsh on their setup, but it somehow ended up working. They managed to secure the 1v1s, and they made me eat my words, and I'm happy about that, because this is the first round for Gnomes in a very long time, fellow. Thank you for finally recouping yourself enough to get around on the table. Also, my cam bugging, but oh yeah, I think we're good.
But
yeah, round for Gnomes, finally.
Yeah. Really huge. The one thing I liked about Gnomes there was how they actually pushed the bot player. Midship, funny enough, we were playing like I think 3 rank games against him and most of DPB. Yes, how you say it. I always get mixed up there at words. I don't have dyslexia, but I just can't read. Apparently, haven't read in a long time. One thing that he was talking about with us in our rank games, because you like to mop a lot, Boxy, you're quite good at hitting headshots with it. So, he was complaining that like my teammates, they don't push Boxy with mop when he's reloading, but we got to see the Gnomes do that exact same thing. So one of your key players dead. Dylan's by himself in container with the knack, which isn't a bad gun, but if you're only playing for wall penetration and short range engagements, you can get counteracted when you already have that map control established to play for mid range. And then it's Muzey, the top of office, like, oh god, what am I gonna do here? Not a lot, to unfortunately be honest there. So that was really good isolation by the Gnomes. And I feel like how Kitura could have countered that was not giving away office so easily. Because yeah, they flubbed 2 mollies basically, or at least hard flubbed 1 molly, and then the other one was pretty good. But just giving away that map control again, it sometimes works for Kitura, but that isn't something you should be relying on every single time you're playing on defense. It's just not a good idea.
Yeah, I have a very important question for you, by the way. Can you rap the entirety of Life After Death by Biggie Smalls?
No way. Not a chance.
Okay. No. Ghetto was in chat and he said good casting equals being able to rap that whole song. So I think we'll work on that by next week, and maybe we'll be good by then. But
maybe on a scuff cast. I think there's some swears in there, so we can't say it on the main stream.
We'll just do a clean version. We'll have a live beep ready. But snap back to reality. Speaking of rap, we are going into another round. So it's the 4th round, the first round where the roles are reversed, and now it is Kitura with Dylan in charge on the attack. Let's see if they can keep their advantage up.
All right. It's going to be a kitchen breach here. So you basically cannot go to this half of the kitchen because pillbox, it's way too strong unless you get like the smoke tossed out. That's not going to happen, but no one's actually playing for that back side of kitchen on top of the pillbox here. They let Jet get really close and almost gets rid of Reptard, but not a lot of shots are actually going to connect. He swings in the lockers. There's Mace on the frag. Goodbye, Jet. Now Dylan will have to get an explosive here with the shotgun. They're just running away from him, but he still gets the pump down on a Reptard. Now he's got control of pillbox essentially here. That's a huge play so far, attempted and perfected by Kitura, only losing 1 attacker, and now Index, and I believe it'd be Scooge, now have to tussle here at a huge deficit.
Yeah, 100% agreed. And like you said, it's a 2v4. Scooge is getting pushed out. He can't do much with the neck, but the other neck in hands of Index.
Oh no, not again. At least it's only 1 versus 3 here, and yeah, Index falls. But the hype buildup, I could tell it was there. We just couldn't hear it because lag detected.
I hate it
oh
here.
my god, and you could see Mace's frustration inside a pillbox.
He's like,
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. They even drew it there. Yeah, that's the whole point. Like, you shouldn't be pushing this as an attacker because of this, unless you like smoke it or something. So breaching kitchen here isn't the wisest idea because of that one thing, but because no one was playing super aggressive in pillbox, it allowed Dylan just to run at them and get a kill, even though Jet died first. Like, so unfortunate, but oh my god.
Once again, I just apologize for my internet being horrible. It's extra bad today, but thankfully I got Fella to pick it up whenever whenever it happens. But still, apologies. We'll try finding a fix, but it's really out of my control. Anyways, Kitura just seem unstoppable. Chad, by the way, saying that Maze is hard carrying and Gnomes just aren't performing, and at least to some extent, we have to agree with them. Maze has been getting those super impactful kills, and he's just been getting all the kills actually. And if just one or two more people on Gnomes stepped up, I think this would be a very different game than what we're seeing currently. But we are back on bank, and maybe, just maybe, Gnomes can actually make it work here. We've seen comebacks from way worse. Maybe this is one of those games where they just need a super long time to wake up, but they will eventually. Maybe.
I hope so, because I know Gnomes can do better. Like, they beat the best team in DPL, technically making them the best team, and now they're just kind of dropping the bag here. I really thought that they would be a bit better off in terms of mentality and overall just thinking about what they need to do here. So it's a little awkward. Hi, you can see us here on the side cameras as well. We're all vibing in the slums here. A little bit of an MTV Cribs review perhaps here done by our lovely observer. We thankfully appreciate that, as I am just looking down at the ground, wondering, pondering, why is Gnomes playing so much like dirt here? I really don't know what their intentions are, but it's nothing that great. I mean, at least they have some pretty good weaponry here for the last round, or second to last round in the second half. My apologies. They've got Mop, full auto, big AK. Igmar's okay if you know how to use it, but you're a pro team. I'm guessing you know how to use it. So, yeah, not bad, but man, it's kind of upsetting to see Gnomes play like this, because I know they can do better, and you know it too, Boxy.
Yeah, I don't know, like, Gnomes played very well against GB. It's true that they had an off day, but we keep referencing that match. I don't know, Gnomes did really well, and the fact that now they're just not performing against Kitura makes me wonder, was that a one-time for Gnomes? Or is, today an off day for them? Or Kitura actually even better than anyone expected? Like, so many questions are popping up and so little answers are being given. And it's, I don't know, it's flabbergasting, honestly. But,
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't think we can count out Gnomes just yet. I think they can still pull it back. But you are completely right. Something needs to start changing. And let's see what Kitura actually does in their attack. Looks like 4 go in accounting and or entrance, and then Jet just kind of playing very passively, slowly, lurking in those vents close to low, seeing if anyone contests him and going for late picks, but Roach will actually rotate to him, so that they at least have some refrag potential on the board. Lewis with the auto shotty, though, could be dangerous, but sadly no one's pushing main as of yet, and so Lewis decides to rotate out closer to the vault. Probably a good play, and those are the rotates that we need from. There we go. Finally reaches out.
Yep, and Scooch to actually fall first by Merchant here. I don't like how passive Lewis has been playing so far in this round. The rotation is good, but not in the right place, right time. Finally swings in action. The Jet is there to double door. Reptart and Index, 2 very long-range weapons in their pockets here. Molly gets tossed. Jet cannot evade it in time, though. The barbed wire will snag him for a little while longer than anticipated, I assume. 1 versus 2 now. But Roach can pick 1v1s here. Swings up in a manager and actually gets the first pick. Now it's a 1 versus 1, but the switch has not been hit. They'll have to fully rotate around, and that can give Reptar a small chance here to actually win this gunfight. The door is shut, a pre-fire is attempted, but to no avail. Reptar still remains alive, and only 1 shot needs to be landed on any part of Roach's body to win this gunfight here. Another pre-fire attempted, still not going to connect. Reptar playing super passive. He just needs to play for time. There goes the barbed wire, and the shot is clean by Reptar. Thank God he stayed alive there instead of Teller and just kept his own ground, because if not, that could have definitely been a round win, needless to say, by the attacking side of Kitura.
Yep. And, well, there we go. At least finally they got another one on the board. It's 2-3 currently. They're in a prime position to win the next one and somehow clutch it out, or at least tie it up, in the first half. And I don't know. Gnomes are frustrating me at the moment, because this, again, was a round that was way closer than it needed to be. But somehow, some way, Kitura are just too good at the moment. And props for them, props to them, rather. I was telling Dylan, like, you better do well, because otherwise me and Phil are going to make fun of you on stream, and that's a joke, by the way. But still, they're doing exceptionally well. Maybe not Dylan personally. He hasn't been, like, really getting very many flashy kills, but he is the IGL, like we've mentioned before, and he first of all, strategically leads his team to victory, and obviously it's working because they're ahead both in round and game count. And secondly, he doesn't even need to get the frags when all of the people on his team are really showing up frag-wise. So, I don't know. I think slowly but surely we'll have to transition into picking more onto everyone on Gnomes, with the maybe exception of Maze, because he is doing his best. He's doing his hardest. He's trying to carry as much as he can, but it's just not working out. And we need to see more from Scooch, who's been very quiet today, Lewis, Reptard, Index. I honestly wish I could highlight any other Gnomes player besides Maze, but nothing comes to mind as of yet. And I know it sounds harsh, and I know you and I would, also would not do very well against Kitura. Like, let's be honest. But still, once you've set the bar as high as beating GB, I think that you need to really pull up to your next game as well and do well on it. I don't think you can just do as well or as bad as Gnomes are doing right now.
And depending on who wins here in this best of 3, I mean, there is a timeline where, everyone basically goes rematches against one another twice because Gnomes get knocked down. There's a chance they play up against GB again. And then if the Gnomes end up beating GB again, then they've got to play Kitura again. So really the cards are not really stacked in Gnomes' favor, especially because of how many hero plays we've been seeing throughout the matchup. We haven't seen that, again, that team play that Kitura have been thriving with now, and something that the Gnomes have almost been avoiding, which is, in any team-based game, clearly that's not a good thing to struggle with, of course. It can be remedied quite quickly, but this has not been a fast manner at all for the Gnomes. So again, it's just questionable. This almost looks like a completely different Gnomes from what we saw when they played against GB about a week ago, to be honest, Boxy.
Yep. I'm very hopeful about Reptard here. He is holding the red breach, and that is exactly where everyone on Kitura has decided to go. So Reptard can get those swings. The angle is not very favorable for him, and he falls back even further so he can rotate away if he needs to. He takes the shot, but he does not connect, sadly, but at least he can now fall back and he can play for later. He also brought 7 mob bullets, if I'm not mistaken. That is interesting. I know it's the last round, but still, the mob can be picked up by attackers, and it can be devastating as it one-shots defenders anywhere in the body. So that's kind of risky. The utility is coming out, though. Both utilities both mollies and flashes, and there is actually Merchant rotating around to push green very late. That's a nice play if it ends up working, but he could just get shut down instantly. Mace is playing there, and so was Reptard. Push is coming out, though, and lights have been pulled.
Ooh, there goes Roach. He falls. Mace with a nice 2K. There goes the push from behind, though. It's going to be Merchant to get that one. Reptard falls as well. Your Mop player no longer in action. 2-on-2 here, but both Merchant and Jet are very low, and it's only Jet left to stand. He's got the Saber, so he could maybe pick off Lewis here, and he'll do just that. But both Index and Scooge are on full HP, so as long as they don't get headshotted here and just kind of play passive, this is honestly an incredibly favorable round here for the Gnomes, because you still need to go for that defuse at the end of the day. Jet knows this, so he'll try to trudge his way closer and closer here. Index in a very powerful position, spots out Jet, and it's going to be easy pickings for the Gnomes players. So things evened up now 3-3. So at least the first half was not horrible. And I'm still having a couple of doubts, but most of them are being diminished now, as they are showing improvement, and they are showing that they are able to read into Kitura's plays, at least a small amount.
Yeah, I think what happened today is Scooch forgot to set his alarm, because I think he's still asleep.
Maybe.
In all honesty, I think he's still asleep. Let's look at the stats real fast. I'm pretty sure he's 0-5 at this point, and knowing Scooge, knowing how well he can frag and perform, this is so below the bar that we have set for him. It's not that I really want to pick on him, because I really like him, but man, I expect more from you. You're from a team that is stacked with gunners, but there we go. Yes, he has done almost 600 damage, but still, he's just not doing much. And I don't know, he's been very quiet. He has been chipping away with the damage, 4 assists, that is something. But still, 0-2 on entry once again. Wasn't he 0-3 or 0-4 last game?
I believe so, yeah.
I think it was. I can actually check back.
Yeah, you talked about it, actually, 0-3, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I checked. Yep. So, I don't know, Scooge. Wake up, please. Someone have Mace. Get up, and just go to the room. next to you because they are brothers. I think they live together
Yeah.
as well, unless one of them is at campus or something. And have May shake you awake and wake up and start playing the game, please. Don't just be a fifth man for the sake of having 5 people on Gnomes. And I say this with the best intentions, Scooz, because I love you, but today ain't it. At least not so far. But you have reset it perfectly. The first half is now 3-3. It's pretty much like no one's won around as of yet, and you're just playing another casual. And Gnomes need to keep their momentum. They've won, what, 2 rounds in a row, fellow? If they can keep it up now, if they don't slow down, I think they can still get this map, but it's going to be tough. And Killdome is going to be a major deciding factor in whether they can actually snowball their momentum or if they just get shut down once again.
Especially since how powerful Castle is here, it's in the literal middle of this tile set, and then you also have this really weird like awkward angle on the whole back right of the map where you can play with like either a mop or like an Ingmar and do pretty well for bomb denial. I think that's where Reptar might play at some point since he isn't inside of the castle. Scooge is the only one so far to actually be playing inside the castle, which is a bit odd because there are a lot of early gunfights you can instigate and win with that mop. So a minute amount of passivity, not horrible. They still have someone playing in base and then still at least a player in castle, so they can contest beach for at least a few short moments here, but that is going to be a very high risky play that you would want to take. And instead of going for that high risk, high reward play, they're going to opt to just kind of let them take control of base early on and just try to tussle inside of the castle itself.
The angle index was holding there with the Ingmar was like, he was waiting for a very close engagement with the Ingmar. It made me super anxious. Thankfully, he got smoked off. Not smoked as in killed, but smoked off. And now he has to rotate away. He'll take the longer fights, but Urchin gets Mace, and that's another entry for Kitura. Gnomes, you can't keep losing those early fights. It could be super risky, but at least Scooge and Lewis are both playing together. One with the auto shotty, one with the KR. Flags are coming out, and Scooge will have to push up on the bottom of Castle. Get a kill. Oh, they don't check. They don't check. That's one. That's one in second for Lewis. This is huge. Can they keep it up? They just need to not die. Flags are coming out, but somehow Muse takes off Scooge. It's a 3v3 now with a minute left on the clock. Can Gnomes win this one out? Everyone is either in base or in beach, at least from Kitura, that is. Lewis still playing the castle. An index on the bomb. Reptar playing the long angle with the mop, and he gets Jet as well. This is huge. 45 seconds left, and now Roach and Muse need to pull up. Saber still in hand. 2 flashes in pocket. Roach, you need to use those. You need to use those, production men. Muse also playing very passively behind his Saber for some reason, even though it has an AP. They're just stalling. The time is ticking out. That keep in mind they need 10 seconds to defuse, and now Gnomes can just play passively. There's really no winning this. I think this is finally around for Gnomes once again. A few shots are coming out from both sides. Reptar misses his mop shot. Roach will actually get him. No, he will not, because Lewis is ready to help him out. There we go. Reptar finally falls, but it's still a little too late. It's a 1v1, and Lewis will just get the easy frag. There we go. Again, a closer round than it should have been. There was almost a throw on the side of Gnomes, but they've managed to somehow keep themselves afloat, and they've taken the lead for, I believe, the first time in this game.
And I'm not really too sure what Kitura's thought process was for like the castle play, because I feel like they wanted to get control of castle to better counteract the mop player at that point, because either he's in castle mopping, so he's a free pick, or he's in the back of the map. So you can kind of contest him from like an okay angle where the Saber has a chance of winning that unless the mopper hits you in the head. But they didn't fully clear it out. They didn't flash the full auto player. I think they just wasted too much utility early on, and they had to cut their losses, which was, it's not a bad idea on paper, but you've already committed so much. You might as well just double down and hope for the best at that point, really. So not being fully determined in one direction or the other kind of costed Kitura just that undecisiveness. That's a huge thing in due process. That's something I'm struggling to learn with now as well. If you're thinking about something, you either completely forget about it or you do it. You cannot have those thoughts linger in the back of your brain, or you are going to you're going to pay the consequences one way or the other. And that was a prime example of thinking, do we still want to go for castle? Do we want to go water and deal with the mopper in the back of the map? They weren't entirely sure. However, the Gnomes, they were sure of what they wanted to do no matter which thing happened. So that's why they were able to play so well in that current situation there. So good on the Gnomes, but Kitura,
Solid points. Before we touch upon C-Store, and I know we're running out of time, I just wanna go on record. I've given a lot of shit to Gnomes for not checking their corners, but then Kitura did the same thing in Castle, and they've lost 2 people off of that, and that was the time, the second they've lost a round. This was the single point of failure for them, apart from maybe the indecisiveness that you've also mentioned. So please, 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 both teams and everyone else playing due process, I beg you, check your goddamn corners. But 5 seconds left of gear up phase, and C-Store, fellow. We have to be really, really brief here. I think defense isn't really sure on what's going to get pushed here. They just kind of have an overall setup protecting everything, and they'll kind of play rotates, which is, you know, the default thing to do on every map. It makes a lot of sense. But from the looks of the attacker icons, a Teller breach is very likely, and this is probably the first time I've actually seen Tellers being like a room with red doors. That seems like a very iffy one to me. And maybe we're not seeing that actually, but the Saber going, you know, storefront and just swinging for shutters will make a lot of sense if you can get to buttons so easily, especially because there's no one actually contesting that. There's only a single barbed wire and Scooch with the shotgun on the other side of the bulletproof glass, but the lights have been pulled. Oh, that's why. Yeah.
I don't know why though. Yeah, the defenders
shutters.
That allows them to. I understand. All right. Well, I guess that's fair since they know there's no Saber on the board. That did actually almost allow Tellers to be taken care of.
No.
Oh no! He's just in the middle of the map. How do you let that happen? Losing Scooch out to fall back. It's a 4th for Jet before there's any kind of kill. Scooch is the only one left to stand, and I think there was a lot of team damage though as well. He's 1 shot away from his own death, and Dylan will finally get rid of him. They just allowed Jet to swing wide. I cannot fathom how they let that happen, and honestly, the lights play was an even bigger issue than they probably anticipated there. That was such a bad read by the Gnomes, and now we're gonna have things evened up again, 4-4. Kitura, they're clawing their way back again.
This was such a dumb moment for me. I was only on the map view. I hadn't actually tapped into first person, and I was like, why were they just, you know, not pushing shutters? But then I realized lights had been pulled, and I was like, oh, this is genius. Okay, they've actually anticipated this. But more importantly, once we thought Gnomes at least, you know, had some momentum going and they were kind of going through rounds. They won them barely, but they started winning a few rounds. I think they got 3 in a row even. And then Kitura just said nope and instantly shut it down with Jet just sprinting in, getting 4. And that was absolutely huge. I think Gnomes' mental is done. I think this is it. This is the round where it falls apart for Gnomes. Getting sprinted in by Jet of all people, just kidding, I love you, Jet, is a problem, and you cannot let that happen. And he even killed a person. I think it was who was it? Not sure.
Everyone
Scooch?
but Scooch. Jet
Yeah,
killed everyone but Scooch, but Scooch was on 1 health because of A, Jet, and B, his own teammate.
Yeah,
Like,
and like the teammate that was holding the crossfire with Scooch, he still died. They were holding a crossfire, and Jet still managed to kill one somehow, and that is just not something that you can get away with, not something that you can let happen, not in the semifinals of a major in due process. And once again, Gnomes just seem to have kind of forgotten about their basics. Right as we thought they kind of got it down, I think they showed us it was all a lie, and I am disappointed.
Yeah, because that light play did more damage than actually helped. Like, I get it. You're like, oh, they don't have sabers, so lights, easy. No.
Well,
like, if you can't confirm if they wanted to go for lights on Killdome or not, that's a really big kick in the butt, pretty much. But I don't want to dawn on that too much because there is still another round to play before we go into the final quarter of this matchup. Perhaps it's going to be Kill House with the pretty long courtyard sight line, so you can play with a mop and either play in the site and just kind of go for pop shots in office. If you want to rotate around, you could possibly do that. It's very risky because reception's right here, and so is a red door. So you're probably going to want to play mop in sight, either like in the back of Brick House or just next to the bomb chassis, like I had already mentioned. So I'm expecting Index Reptart to go for either one of those two. And if he's not going to go that, he might do a wild card option where he just spawn peeks, which very risky. But if you can hit the 1 shot, then, you know, at least get a pick. But still very risky.
The question is this, with what we've seen so far, can he hit the 1 shot? I've been guessing him as the sniper, and he has hit a few nice shots, but also when you're, like, you know, the score is tied, but I still think Gnomes are down and everything else, at least, like, mentally and everything. So, I don't know, going for that seems very risky. We need misses the shot. Merchant takes a little bit of damage, but Index falls as Merchant, or Dylan rather, gets the entry. Merchant was the one that took a little bit of damage though, and Dylan overextends. He pushes into Kitchen really fast, and everyone for Gnomes is just falling off. Scooch gets one though in retaliation, and that is Chad, who has been performing very well for his team today, but Merchant is still alive, and he's also out for blood. Scooch is now stuck in office, no way of getting out. He needs to play for his life. Other 3 Gnomes are playing around the bomb. No one actually checks office for Scooch. He could get a huge flank, or even just angles from courtyard, but Dylan actually gets a knack and decides to just push around. Scooch, your time to shine is now. You still have a molly in pocket. Everyone actually rotates around. It's all Merchant pushing close to the bomb. Indecisiveness from Kitura is actually making this super hard to call, because they're just kind of hovering between kitchen reception. But there we go, Muse gets Scooch as well. He just decided to push at the wrong moment, and now there's 2 creating pressure from Kitchen as well. And oh, what a shot from Merchant. Braveheart is taken out as well. Lewis needs to take the 1v1 on Muse, and that is not gonna happen as Dylan gets 1 and a second, and that is another round for Kitura as they bring it back 5-4. In a very decisive round. I don't know how this round was so decisive with how indecisive Kitura themselves were.
Honestly, the play into office was a good idea because Scooch could do way too much just by proxying near the blue windows. I mean, even Maze highlighted it too, I think it was. Either that or Index, where like you could also have a sightline in a club as well from this back window and courtyard. So having like 3 to 4 stuns, you can pressure out Scooch with like just 2 to 3 players, and they did exactly that. Now you only have to worry about the site, and you can go from club and also go from kitchen as well. Even have somebody on the window in office if you really wanted to, but that was not necessary. So that was a really good idea. And they still had 1:10 on the board. Like, you have time to kill. There's nothing else you have to worry about except just player positioning, because you have so much of the map already in your grasp. I mean, why not go play the passive role and just kind of make sure you can guaranteed get another pick? That really was a good play. Although it seemed indecisive, it was the best option there for Kitura to finally reclaim the lead here on the second match.
Agreed.
Agreed. Cuts the gameplay. Boxy gets lag detected.
I was speechless anyway. I said and then I was like, I don't know what to say about Gnomes right now. I am disappointed, like I said multiple times, and I really expect more from them because I've seen them perform better. Before last round, I was looking at the scoreboard, and the second one on the scoreboard was actually Lewis. And, you know, I don't want to pick on him, but he is, in my opinion, one of the least flashy players on Gnomes. He's one of the people that you don't really expect to get those skills, at least not often from what I've seen. He's just kind of one of those background players that make sure everything is running smoothly in the background. But right now he's the second on the scoreboard, at least he was before the last round. And I don't know, that just means that your flashy star players are not performing, and that is a huge problem.
Well, going into round number 10, back on the good old dome. And the only problem I have with like getting this back red door open is if you don't clear out castle, you've got to worry about these 2 sight lines. And I accidentally clicked on jet, but you get the idea, the mopper in the back of the map. That's a big issue. So you're relying heavily on your other 3 players to just kind of bombard themselves into base, and they still have to worry about castle themselves too. So if you're going to go for that play, I would recommend having like a 4-to-1 split instead, and just having that player with the door charge just kind of wait patiently for you to get control of castle essentially, and then you can have a double peek on the jet. You force him to play way too passive, and that nullifies the mop. I don't think we're going to have that happen just yet though, because both Mace and Index are just kind of vibing here. They're still going to go for a late breach, but it would be 10 times better to have 4 people pushing this castle rather than only 3.
Yep, definitely agreed. And there's still so much trying to work with. No kills have been gotten for either side as of yet. There's two people playing that castle though, and that could prove deadly. Jet on the mob though, playing just like the backside of trying to run the ruined slide jungle up there. And again, if he hits though his shots, he could be very detrimental. It's easy to push him out. Muse gets the entry onto Mage. Jet takes a lot of damage, and there we go. He falls. The mob lost to the Saber, and that I think is huge for Gnomes, or Kitura rather, once again. But Gnomes need to capitalize on that now. They need to start pushing in. They need to, you know, seizing their advantages. The opening's given by Kitura. Muse gets one, Dylan gets a second one, and it's all falling apart from Gnomes. Once again, just 2 APs against 3 long-range weapons. Not looking well.
Ooh, Muse battling out here. A bit of a dance at a castle. Scooge will win that altercation, but there's a refrag by Merchant. Index, the only one that remains, and I'm quite shocked that they were able to kill that mop player, but then still kind of throw the round. Lewis, why are you swinging? Like, why are you running into pit? That I cannot fathom in the slightest. Maybe to like help clear out castle or also pit, but that's way too risky when you only have killed their mop player. And Index, I think he's just taking this time to either pad some stats if someone wants to over-aggress against him. Nope, looks like he'll still try to actually win out this 1 versus 2. I don't blame him entirely. It's not over just yet, but definitely going to be a lot of conversations to have after this round to, at the very least, tie, and then they need to win the next series, or they just lose here.
We are on not just match point, but series point, actually, John. And
yeah.
It's really not looking well for Gnomes, and I am kind of happy that I predicted Kitura to win. If you remember at the beginning of the game, I said, I think Gnomes have this probably, but I'm still going to root for my EU homies, and I'm kind of happy I did that because now I get to mock you for it.
Paying dividends.
Yeah.
Feels bad. I mean, but I did say it'd be a close game no matter what, like 60-40 chance that Gnomes take this. Like a 40% chance is not bad at all. So that's the one thing I like about, even if I make something wrong, is like I don't like just straight up count out a whole nother team. Like that is no. I mean I even said that in the Gnomes game where you thought GB was just gonna mop 2-0, and then I'm like, well, I don't think that's gonna be like a mop. I think it's gonna be like not mop as in the sniper, but MOP, not MAWP, just for a reference there. I still had my faith in the Nomi boys, and they actually beat GB, but now they are playing nowhere close to as how well they were doing against GB on the on last week's matchup, to say the least.
Yeah, and again, I don't know if it's Kitura doing exceptionally well, if it's, you know, Gnomes having an off day, what is happening, because this match, as close as it's been, I think it should have been way, way closer.
Yeah. He'll be back eventually. Even no KF.
I hate it here. I really hate it here. This today has been horrible in terms of internet, but I just find it devastating that we're not even going to 3 games. I think this series really should have gone there. I think this should have been way closer than it is, and it's just, you know, it's kind of anticlimactic with how well Kitura are doing right now.
Yeah. And to be fair as well, I felt like emotion would have a bigger part to play here, more or less, for Gnomes winning, because they seemed so determined to beat GB in a finals. But I think they forgot that before they face GB again, they've got to go through Kitura first. I feel like that might have been the bigger issue at part here. And still, the mentality game, they just seem confused in themselves too. So it is quite concerning. I mean, they're not going to get fully eliminated. They'll have to go into the losers bracket, of course. There is a chance that they either go against the Doodles there or GB for a second time, and they need to probably just take this time for next week to, again, just kind of go through their strat book, understand their big issues at part here, and just make sure they're going to be
oh my god, Mace.
Here comes a rush, though, instead of Freezer. No one's gotten control of green just yet either. The switch has now been hit, though it's lights out here for the defense. But other than Freezer, there's been no map control. Jet's still playing incredibly aggressive here with this fully automatic. He's just waiting for someone to overextend, and that's going to be a free pick for Kitura if that happens. Now, a rush inside a storefront or a push around, my mistake, as now everyone's starting to reassemble and try to figure out how they need to dissect the second half of this tile set inside of Houston.
Jet in office with the auto shot. He could be deadly though if they decide to push him, especially without flashes, because they have already used the majority of them. Index also throws on his last flash. It's going out in storefront. Jet actually pushes out, and there we go. Index falls. Mason and Scooch did get 1 each, though. Brothers in arms, brothers in life. Raptor gets 1 as well. And it's up to Roach and Muse. Roach also falls. Make that just Muse. He has a molly in pocket, but the defuse is going out, and it's just not something that he can pull back. He can maybe get 1, and that is what he does. He gets the second one, actually. How do you win that? Now it's a 1v1. You're not allowed to get away with that. Raptor actually finishes it off. Thank you. That was way too close. How? How do you let that happen? How do you almost throw that, Scooge and Lewis?
Oh my god.
What? Why? How? Why? How?
That was That was a really good read by Muse. He's like, all right, someone has to be holding green doors. He wins that fight against Mace. but Scooge and also the player directly next to him, they didn't have time to separate, so they basically just piled up for Muse there. That was way too close for comfort in 1 versus 4. I thought I was about to see a reattempt of the Foom 1v4, except it would be way less hilarious, and it would actually be, like, disturbing that
Okay.
that's how Kitura wins their last round in a best of 3. Also,
Done.
I can't do a funny Muse voice either. I don't know how to do that. A Foom voice, yeah, that's easy. I know what Foom sounds like. I don't think
Done.
I've actually ever talked to Muse. What? 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 I think you got lag detected.
We are on 5-6 right now. It all hinges on this next one round. It's
Yeah.
either Kitura wins, they win the series, or Gnomes win, they tie this game, and then we go to another game in which Gnomes have to win to then play overtime, which is something we've seen with GB but in reverse. And I don't know. I really want Gnomes to win this one just so that we keep going in both, game 3 and then potentially overtime. But honestly, with how Kitura have been playing, they deserve this win, maybe even 2-0. And I'm really torn between what I want to happen here. I want a spectacle, I want a grand event, I want the best semifinals, the most competitive semifinals that we could possibly have, but also Kitura have been playing so well that having played 2 more games potentially doesn't seem fair with how much better they've been doing as a team overall today.
I think that if we do see overtime, or not overtime, sorry, if we do see a tie, that is going to probably maybe allow some overconfidence to show by Kitura. I feel like they need to win this out here, right now, or there's going to be a lot of bloodshed happening on the final match here tonight. I mean, it's a no-brainer, but it's something I'll probably want to discuss in a deeper fathom when we actually get there, if we get there, because there is still a high chance of Kitura just winning this round and we're not going to go to a 3rd match. If that happens too, then I'll probably elaborate a bit further as well. But yeah, everything hangs in the balance here for the Gnomes. Again, unless they want to rematch GB, most likely, unless David have an upset. It's possible for an upset. We've seen them happen before today.
Oh,
what a nice shot I did off the rip. You've got control of Kitchen, but at what cost? At least the front half, because Jet is still playing incredibly close, and if he lands a 2nd here, this could be huge. The Molly will manage to allow him to play still farther back inside the Kitchen. Dylan gets aggressive as well. They do not want to give away any map control here. Now Dylan switches places here with Jet, but doesn't net a single frag. It's an equalizer here for the attack as they now have control of Kitchen, but they never cleared out offs as well. It's a wall charge inside of Brick House as they just try to throw flashes out, but the Mollies will keep them at bay. It's the final one left though in pocket by Kitura, and they now go on a flank, but Repco's watching it. Roach gets the refrag, but now they're aware they could try to bombard site, go for 1v1s. The shotgun gets rid of Muzey. Jet with the mop in Roach. The last one's alive. The UAV zaps Roach. We're going to a tie situation. We get to see the full best of 3 and potentially even more, as it's going to be a 6-6 scoreline, as everything was well guarded by the Gnomes, and the overconfidence by the defensive side of Kitura, it was showing completely on round number 12.
Amazing entry by Jeff with the mob shot. Scooch got sent to his grave so very convincingly. I was like, okay, this is it. Scooch hasn't been the most active player this game, but still just losing that one man and the utility that comes with him off the dome, I was like, this is it for Gnomes. They cannot bring us back. But somehow against all odds, despite not even having cleared the whole map, they somehow brought it back. Obviously, the UAV helped them out a lot, but still, oh my god, this is what I was talking about, man. I was like, you know what I mean? I can't find the words for what I'm trying to say right now. It's just, finally we're getting these extremely close rounds, and like we said, it all hung on this one round, and we are going to game 3. I assume we're going to take a 5-minute break, but before we do, let's quickly talk about this. What happened? What did Gnomes change? How did they bring it back?
Oh, man. I think overconfidence. I said I was going to talk about if we got to see a tie game, and we did. Jet, you were hitting some shots, and you were the 2nd best damage dealer. That's awesome. However, you need to fall back there. Playing that close into Kitchen, that was really risky. He finally fell back, but just not at a good time. And Dylan as well. just rushing at them, you've got the man advantage. Play for wall bangs with the knack, man. I get it. It's a great gun at close quarters, but it has one of the highest, if not the highest, wall pen in the game. So you can play for wall bangs inside a brick house and probably get somebody, if not deal a bunch of damage, and that allows your mop player of Jet to get a one shot even in the body potentially, depending on how well you do on your own roll. And you already have the flank that you have abrupting. Go for a very late flank instead. That way they start to take their mind off of that backside and just tunnel vision into brick house, which we didn't have that happen. It was a very hasty round attempted by Kitura, and also, again, a very confident and cocky round by them. When you get cocky like that, you're bound to make mistakes, and that was a pitch perfect example, as now we get to at least see one more match here in this best of 3 series by the Gnomes to maybe bring us to a fourth one to win this out and not get relegated.
Fellow, can we? I know we've already ripped into Scooch very hard, and this is a bad moment to talk about this. The stat just got taken off, but can we just take a second to look at the brothers? Like first of all, we were hyping up Mace because he was doing really well in game one. He was the single carry, but first of all, he fell off, at least damage-wise. He was the second lowest damage, only in front of Raptor. But more importantly, the brothers together, Scooch and Mace, that is, they went 3-9 on their combined entry. So they won 3 out of their 9 entry fights, excuse me. And I don't know, two brothers that are known to frag it out when they need to, just doing this poorly on both. I mean, they both got 1k damage, but still, like, just not winning those fights when you need to, I think, is devastating for your team. And the fact that somehow Index was able to climb up on the scoreboard along with Lewis and they somehow brought it back is something that cannot happen again in game 3 and possibly even onwards if we somehow actually get to overtime. So I don't know. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think that we'll need to go on a short little break. I managed to see that a bunch of players left their queue as well for I believe already the Gnomes. They're just kind of breaking out, separating. They're talking quite heavily amongst one another. That's a good call. So we're going to probably talk amongst ourselves as well up here in the prod booth. So we'll be back in a few short minutes to get match number 3 underway to see who comes out on top. Don't go anywhere. This could possibly potentially the final game of this series, Boxy. It was a tie between Gnomes and Kitura on their second set, and now we're going to need to see if we can have a clawback and potentially a fourth game of this evening, or if things will finally be shut out here by Kitura. Even if we see a tie, that's Kitura's guaranteed win. There will be no fourth map in contention because it's a 2-1 victory at that point, essentially. So, again, a lot is on the line here for Gnomes, unless they want to rematch GB for a second time earlier than probably expected.
Yep. First of all, I love how you just jumped in there, no nonsense, just kind of third map. Okay, let's go. But I totally agree with you. I think whatever happens in this third game, I think we've had a great series. Either Kitura wins and it's well deserved, or somehow we get the Cinderella story from Gnomes that they come back from being not only down with the first game, but also then losing a lot in the second game. Like, I think they came back from a 4-round deficit at some point, and they somehow won to, tie it out. So really a great, excellent series up until this point, and I don't think Game 3 is going to be any different regardless of its outcome. We are just waiting for the teams to queue, but do you... Sure. I will give you... Oh, we are in a game? Okay.
Yeah, they're loading, but yeah, you're good. You're saying
okay. I will give you one final chance to change your prediction to Kitura if you want.
No, although I love Kitura, I also love Gnomes. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Funny enough, though, so here's some conspiracy theory stuff. I always love talking about random things like this. GBV Gnomes, 7-4 win for Gnomes, and then we saw a tie game, and then we saw a victory by GB, and then a fourth match where unfortunately they did not win. So maybe Gnomes will lose if they
unfortunately. Oh my god, fellow GB shill, you heard him. Clip it and ship it.
Oh my.
Clip
so
it and ship
I'm a
it.
biased caster. What are you gonna do? Ban me? What are you gonna do? Get me off the air?
What are you gonna do? Stab me? Get stabbed?
No, clearly not. They're gonna play ranked against me and get free low. That's what they're gonna do, and I'm gonna cry about it. That's probably what they would end up doing here. Yeah. So kind of similarities happening between the Gnomes and Kitura versus Gnomes and GB game that went to a whole whopping 4 matches. I think there's a very good chance it's going to happen. Will it? Maybe not. But, you know, as Echo would say, like he mentioned yesterday, it's not over until it's over. So maybe you'll need to keep that in the back of your mind as we progress into C-Store as our first map of game number 3.
Yep, I couldn't have said it better myself. So this is a very, very vertical layout of the C-Store. It's, I don't know, like the storefront is very long, and then fridges are on top of it, and then storage is on top of that, so...
Yeah, this is a problem to worry about here is one of these little rushes. Yeah. That's why they're opting for Barbed right there. Just feel I mentioned something random while you were lag detecting.
I mean, like, just entire Kitura has been, you know, super great with those coordinated fast pushes. They've been getting those frags, the initial swings, and then the refrags if necessary, but the refrags haven't even really been necessary. Like, you remember last time we were in C-Store with Kitura attacking, Jet just sprinted in and got 4 off the dome without anyone even being close to him. It was just uncontested, so... I don't know, Gnomes really have to play together. They have to play refrags. I like the crossfire between Raptor and Lewis, and then also Index Mace playing well together, and then Scoot just playing the shotgun off the barbed wire. I think this initial setup is not horrible. They used a few barbed wires. They also only have 1 molly as far as I can tell, which could end up being a problem. Lewis is going to be alone here, and he is going to get flashed out, but not concussed enough. He is getting pushed out, though, and he needs to hold his own here for at least a little while. Oh! He actually gets the entry.
Yeah, Lewis lands a long angle wall bang. That was a pretty impressive shot by Lewis. One big problem I don't like is how easy Light's contention was. Teller's control now in their back pocket. Reptar goes for the swing. It's a quick refrag, though, by Merchant himself with the pump action. Lewis will try to bout against him, but really cannot get in a close enough range to deal with him despite the barbed wire, almost favoring him there. Roach will fall off in the background. Merchant, the only one left to stand. He's got a molly in pocket, but not a lot of HP. Lewis is also low on health, but he's across the map. There's no way in hell he's going to win that confrontation. He's going to have to bout up against both Mace and Scooge most likely before Lewis even decides to trudge against him. So he's basically trapped in here. He'll pick up a long AK instead, so maybe it's a potential save perhaps, but there's still 50 seconds to play with, and I don't feel like Merchant is the saving kind of type. I feel like he wants to at least get some sort of fragment to pad his stats and maybe even have a chance to win this out. Gets rid of Mace, 1 versus 2. He'll now apply pressure to the bomb here, and he's got 30 seconds to work with. There is no molly in pocket of either Scooge or Lewis, so they'll have to rotate and approach Merchant directly here. Scooge will do that, and only 1 shot is required, so he'll win that confrontation quite well. Picks back up the big AK, and it's going to be a round win for Gnomes off the rip.
3 for Scooge, by the way. I think his alarm finally went off. He just said it like 2 hours too late, but he is here. He's loaded in the... Yeah, exactly. Maybe he also listened to us harp in on him a little bit, and we may have been too harsh, but the sad reality is that he hasn't really been performing for games 1 and 2. Game 1 especially, but now he got 3 off the dome, and that is just, you know, very impactful. Also, a very valiant attempt from Urchin there, but sadly, it wasn't enough. And Gnomes taking the lead early on, I think, shows that they still are in contention. They still can, you know, win these rounds out. They still can get the advantage. And if they can just keep it up, if they can keep escalating, and oh my god, this is the
donut map. This is so defender favorited. This is such a defender sided map because no one knows how to play on it. And even when you know how to play on it, it's Funnel City.
Donut, if you're watching, I've said it before. I love you. I despise this map. Please, for the love of God, no more. But like you said, it's a very defender-sided map from what we've seen in competitive play before. It is a hard one to attack. There's a lot...
I think he was trying to say long angles there. You're back.
Yeah.
I'm drinking some water. I need
First of all, this is unbearable. But second of all, once again, apologies. There is so many long angles here on the walkways, on the rafters, and more importantly, a good barbed wire too. You can really like kind of you can really put a lot of barbs there, and it's just insanely hard for attackers to cross without just bringing 2 nades. So what we've seen mostly in competitive play on this map is that you just don't bring anything. You full eco as an attacker, maybe a smoke and a flashbang, and that's it. And then you just save your utility for the upcoming rounds, or in this case, rounds, and there's only 1 left before we switch the sides. But, oh my god, this map is making me cry.
Yeah, like green, if no one's like heavily defending it, that's the best way to attack. If that is the case, then you go like the red storage door instead. Fan, you have someone bait with a saber. Yeah, that's like pretty common. But you also have to worry about the mop because mop players normally play back here, and that's where Reptard's actually rotating to. So there are not a lot of good places to position as for an attacker once you get outside of both server and storage room, because all these long walkways where you can just throw down barbed wire, which is what we're seeing right now. So it's so much to trudge through. It's like you said, almost can guarantee a save when you're going to see this map as an attacker, because it's just, you basically forfeit your rights as a winning attacker here when you're playing on here.
Yeah.
But it looks like Kitura, they will try their best. They have nades to get rid of the barbed wire. They have a saber to play on fan. They'll still give it their all, despite how annoying it is to play on this godforsaken map.
Yeah, they did end up saving the explosives as far as I've seen. I haven't seen any.
Yep.
There's no clickers. So at least there's that, you know, they are kind of saying we'll just double blow next one, and that makes sense. Lewis does get jet off the rip, as you like to say, though, and that is once again the advantage going to Gnomes early. Now, Dylan and Muse are pushing the right side as Reptar gets Merchant as well. Roach will now join Dylan and Muse, as he has no business just being alone in server farm. Pre-fires are coming out from the bomb, though. That is Index, chunking just a little bit of damage off of Dylan, and it's all going Gnomes so far. Can they keep it up, though? Can they steamroll that advantage to a point where they win another round and guarantee, themselves a 2-0?
I'm shocked they didn't have the Saber player actually in the back of Fan, but I guess it works out because now they can try to utilize it here in these last 50 seconds. Still a barbed wire to deal with, and the mop just sitting comfortably in the back of the building here. Misses one shot, but that's okay. Still plenty of time to recover. Dylan has to get aggressive. He's shooting at the toxic goo. I have no idea why. Oh, it's because Lewis is in the rattiest angle. Look at where the hell Lewis is. How did he do that? What in Donut! This map! Donut! This map! Why? How can you do that?
What the hell is this?
Jesus Christ! He's literally like pole dancing.
I'm not sure if he spawned there. I'm not sure if he
No, he
spawned there.
didn't! Because he went aggressive against storage. He managed to drop down there. What?
Oh, if we don't see a protest from this, I don't know. This
oh my
god. But also, more importantly, someone in chat said, and after only watching round one, I totally agree. Someone in chat said, oh, that was Matt saying it. Gnomes win the opening fight and win the round. Ain't that some crazy shit? And I can't help but to agree with him. Because, like, I don't know, Gnomes have just been losing bodies so early, especially game 1 and then game 2 in the rounds that they've lost. But when they've been getting entries, they've been winning, and it's showing because it's 2-0 at the moment off of their 2 entry rounds. And if they can just keep that up, if they can keep their players alive for a little longer than the previous games, they are in the driver's seat for this one as well. And like you said, I wasn't completely agreeing with you at the time, by the way, but you said if Kitura lose the last game, they will be down. It will take a while for them to recoup. And I wasn't necessarily agreeing with you at the time, but I think you were right. I think Kitura are, just kind of shook right now. They've already gave it their best, and they were so close to winning the entire series 2-0, but ended up falling just short, and it's showing. They are worn out because it is a best of 3, and we could potentially even be going to more games after this, but it is a best of 3, and it is a game of endurance. Like I always say, it's stamina. It's not just who can get the most kills on one game, it's who can hold out the longest mentally.
I'm just writing and fellow here to my mental there.
Who wrote that? I missed it.
I think it was Merchant. It's one of the defenders. I think it was not Merchant. It was Reptard. Sorry, not Merchant. My mistake. The other player who will go for range sometimes. Anyways, big problem. You lost Saber, and this is a really long range kill house. Honestly, I think there's only a couple other tile sets that are even longer than this, but you've got a lot of areas where you can contend with that Saber. You lost it on Factory, and you're going to pay the ultimate price because Mace still has the mop now instead of Reptart wielding that weapon. Instead, he has the Saber. So this is, I've used this phrase before, I'll say it again, hell on earth here. Especially if there's a spawn peek by Mace, but no one's actually going that way around. They're just going to play for kitchen and potentially they'll reach the hall as well, but there's still plenty of long angles to go against. Even
okay, goodbye. That is Reptar on the entry, and Urchin falls. Once again, Gnomes are getting the entries, and they can snowball those leads. They've shown that they can, they just need to keep it up. The breach finally comes out, but will it be enough? Lumberyard has been breached now, and attackers just need to push in. They have a nade, they have 3 flashes, and a smoke in their pocket. They just need to use all of that, but still, losing Merchant, one of their better fraggers today, is devastating for an early push.
And again, ball back here. You have long weapons to play against. It's not a horrible thing here. Jet gets a refrag. The molly is not clean. So Dylan can just actually dance around it here. But nope, he'll get caught by a Reptard out with the Saber and also the molly as well. So now we're in a 3 versus 4. Now in a 2 versus 4 as Mace lands a great shot there with the mop. Roach and then Muzey. He's going to have to end up rotating into the exploded fence. Get one on towards Reptard, but it's still a man advantage. You've got a molly and plenty of good weapons to actually deny this confuse from happening. And there's another brilliant shot landed by Mace as well. Muzey's the last alive here. We'll have to try to make ends meet. He's got the shotgun, actually. He'll try to play into the potentially one weakness of a long-range player is at close quarters. They are horrible, but you've got to get to that close quarters engagement first. And there is such a huge distance that he'll have to cover in order for that to work. So instead, he'll pick up the mid AK instead and try to play this one as properly as he can with only 30 seconds left. He'll crouch underneath the double door to maybe reposition and go for a potential wall bang here, but he has little to no information to play off of, and everyone is still on such high HP. There goes your mop player. 18 seconds left on the clock, but you've got to go for the reload here, and there is not a lot of time to perfect this here. He'll go for the bait, almost fully commit, but the molly is tossed on out, and there's no way you're going to be able to recover from that position. Now, all the defenders have to do is just wait. They could even get aggressive here with the swing. It's the last round, of course, and they will do it in tandem. The double swing is far too potent here, and that's going to be 3-0 for the Gnomes as they take the first quarter flawlessly, essentially.
I honestly think there's a great possibility that we're going to at least one overtime game, but also, yeah, thank you for correcting me there. I didn't realize it was the third round, and I was like, save the AK. It's pointless, okay? I know, please don't roast me in chat. I've been roasted enough today. And apparently we're not real casters because we can't rep Biggie Smalls, but we'll work on that. So,
it's a good point, though. It's kind of fair.
We're switching the roles once again, and we will see Merchant and Company defend while Scooch and Company attack. Let's see if Gnomes can keep it up. They've won 3 in a row, including the ugly Donut Factory map, which, you know, I don't know. I'm sad that we got to see that again. Sachi in chat called it that. Sachi in chat, I think, called the donut map the map that killed Make a Map, which was like the community thing where a community made maps. So I just found that funny. I had to share that one out. But also, what do you think happens here? Do you think Kitura finally find an answer of their own, or do they just keep getting shut down round by round by round by round?
I hope they find a solution. Even though I want to see a fourth match, that doesn't mean I want to see Kitura get walloped. And to like strengthen the point I made earlier of like mentality and overconfidence, it's like when we play ranked and we're like 4-0 so far, and then like we just start throwing rounds and we don't recover. It's that exact same storyline, except this is a comp game and there's a lot more on the line than just funny number points on the screen. So that's a prime example right there. Clearly the ranked game and the comp game are two different beasts essentially, so you need to take that into consideration too, but it's just a good way to tie in things between one another. Anywho, we've got this charge play being attempted here by the Gnomes, and if there is no barbed wire like we saw last time, you could in theory just rush. I mean, I've seen Revenant do this in a 10-man essentially, where he just ran in through here and basically just got the entire map in his back pocket and even found a couple picks in the process as well. So if you aren't expecting that, I would highly suggest you end up changing your ideology on that, because it may seem dumb at first because of all these different crossfires, but if it works and the comms are poor, which might be the case for Kitura as they are 0-3, then you could see a pretty filthy round here by Gnomes.
Yeah, I think Gnomes are really on their high horse at the moment. They have the momentum and they know how to keep snowballing it. So really, everything is looking great for them. It's up to Kitura to go for those flashy plays to somehow, some way shut down Gnomes, but will they be successful? That's another story, and I guess we'll see it during the round. The Storefront Breach comes out. Reptard obviously on the saver like you've seen him in pretty much all the previous rounds, and I will just push an ill. But everyone, apart from Merchant, is on the left side of the map, just kind of in tellers and bathroom. It seems to be working. Dylan gets one, Merchant gets the second one. Lewis does find one in return, but still the advantage is currently going to Kitura. Also, there we go, Jet finds a third one. And it's all up to Raptor and Mace once again. They haven't been doing exceptionally well.
Not at all. Mace is just in the worst predicament as humanly possible. He's just trying to run around, and Dylan somehow wins out against Mace. Reptard is there on the refrag, but the the rush did not work at all because they actually had late barbed wires set up instead, which was honestly a much better idea now that I've had time to think about it, because you still want to push into tellers to hit switch so your saber player is even stronger than expected. And you also want like the back of fridges cleared out too, so you can maybe flank around, perhaps even go for lights if you brought MVGs, or just have more of the map in your pocket too. So actually allowing the breach to be successful and then a lot of map control to be blundered early on actually played better into Kitura's strengths there. So that was actually a really good read that I didn't actually look at first.
I find it surprising how quickly Gnomes lost bodies in the attack there, where there were 3, if not 4 people just in tellers, arcade, and bathroom. Like, everyone was just on that far left side of the map, with 1 person, I think, just swinging fridges, and that was it as far as I can remember. And I don't know, failing to establish map control with everyone being so condensed in one spot just seems very... I don't know, it seems like an oversight, honestly, of just, spreading out, getting the control, but it is what it is, it happens. And first round for Kitura, finally, like you said, they got 1. Can they keep going for more?
Potentially. Saber is not gone. I don't know if we had Clacker picked up or not. No, we did not. Okay. But that's fine. You just have to make sure that you don't lose a Clacker on the next round if you're going to bring one out, which I would assume so, because next tile set, actually maybe not, because it's
no,
Donut.
it's
Donut
ugly.
Factory.
Yep.
Yeah, it's Donut Factory.
Ugly
Yeah, you're
factory.
right. So
Ugly.
I like to call it Ugly Factory because, like, okay,
because
there's
ugly?
a couple things I want to talk about for it. Donut designed the map to not have it competitively viable. He wanted to be more of a fun map. But then again, why the hell would you allow it then to like be made? I feel like that's more of an issue of like the map maker people that allow stuff like that to get sent through than Donut himself, because he did put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in that map. And it is like,
agreed.
if you're playing like casual, that's like a fine map to go against. It's casual, but like in a comp game, you're like basically giving a round for free for the defense.
I do think there's a lot of like memes. There's a lot of memes going towards Donut, and like you said, he put in a lot of work in this map. It may not be the most competitively viable. English is very hard today, but it is a fun map to play in casual. We just kind of love giving him shit for it, for the sake of giving him shit. But Donut's a great guy, and it's not the worst map from a casual sense. It's a good map from a casual sense, actually. I feel like it's different. It kind of breathes some fresh life into the game, even, but maybe keep it off the competitive servers for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Especially since you can do dumb stuff like hiding in like this little corner right here that I'm drawing around. And again, Lewis did not like unintentionally like fall in here or like spawn in here either. He was wide swinging this green door to get a kill, and then he jumped down here. Like, this is something they found out on their own. This was not even.
By the way,
that was intentional.
Chad is comparing you to Henry Cavill.
Not again.
Yes,
that's again. The second time.
Wait, who were you compared to last time? I know it was someone super funny. Who was it?
I literally think it was Henry Cavill.
It was someone else. It was someone else as well, because I had to Google them.
I don't remember.
When I Googled them, I was like, you look the same. Oh my god.
I don't have it in my recent searches, but I can go back in the VOD and maybe look, probably, because I think it was on the mainstream too. So we'll have a laugh about that later today, I would assum. But there is still plenty to talk about now, like the fact we're going back to this this unholy tile set with full eco in terms of like hard destruction, which you almost always expect. Yeah, not surprising. That's kind of the main thing you have to do on this tile set. But still, nades being brought, double nades, actually. That's a really big commitment by Gnomes, to say the least, because if they completely lose on this round, then there's no nades for Kill House, and that is a pretty scary thing to say out loud, especially when you kind of want Gnomes to win if you're a fan of them. That way we can see a 4th match, or maybe you're ecstatic because Kitura have a really high chance of winning on this tile set, and that's 2 nades off the board going into the next round, and the Saber potentially too.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier how risky it is bringing both nades on this, but also how you need them because these barbs on the walkways are so strong. 3/4 of the map is just walkways that one single barb can, zone off completely. So there we go. The first barb is popped, but also, by the way, keep in mind, 2 nades could have just been a miscommunication. That happens every now and then. Jed is behind the silo, not contested. Merchant gets the entry into Lewis. Muse gets one onto Index as well, and it's once again falling apart. for the Gnomes. As soon as they've gotten on the attacking side, they just started falling apart, and it's something that, you know, it's not a pretty sight to see done with a third one from Office on that trusty, reliable Boomer. Jet goes for another swing, but is now shut down by Raptor. Scooch is overextended, though, but actually gets one, and now it's winnable. It's a 2v3, but Raptor gets shut down from the same angle by Dylan. Roach finishes it up. The production man himself gets Scooch, and that is another round for Defenders. It's 2-3, and Kitura are clawing their way back. We may not be seeing a third game after all. I think I jinxed Gnomes. That's why I said, hey, we're definitely seeing a third game, or a fourth game, rather, excuse me, in overtime. I think Gnomes haven't won a single round since. So that's on me. I, you know, go home, everybody. I jinxed it. The caster scares is real. And, yeah.
I think teams just need to understand that, like, you shouldn't be bringing anything valuable on that tile set of Factory, because it's a bad tile set for an attacker. Like, seriously, you're so strong with the mop because there's just so many stupid angles you can play in the back and just not be contested properly unless your Saber player is just out of this world insane, which even if they are, you have to hit a headshot basically to guarantee you're going to kill that mop player. Because you should never be undermining that mop player. You have to really respect that weaponry almost every single time. So bringing both nades and a Saber on Factory there, not a good idea, because it's just, again, it's just so defender sided. I don't really want to explain it any further. I want to get that map out of my head until our next broadcast if we see it again. So now we go into Kill House with the same problem that we had for Kitura when they were attacking is now going to show for Gnomes' attack. They don't have a Saber. I don't know if they picked it up for Kitura, so maybe they only have a mop, but still, all of these long-range angles, you can only contend with, like, a tar at best, and that's brutal. And no nades. The barbed wire in this round is going to be so deadly, it's not even a joke.
Look at the charge though on the hole to lumberyard doors. There will be a charge there just to get rid of the barb that is already marked by the defenders. But more importantly, I was talking to Echo about this yesterday on broadcast, and I want to get your input. I was saying how I really dislike the big lumberyard kill houses coming back. I'm not a huge fan. Like, at least for me, I kind of joined the community late, obviously, but at least for me, at least from my perspective, kill house had its charm in being like there was a bunch of small rooms being together, everything's all bangable, you're never safe. And then these lumberyard maps are making a comeback where, like, look at this lumberyard, it's more than half of the map.
Yeah.
With club being the other 2/3, and it's like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like Kill House at this point, and I'm not the biggest fan. I want to know what you think though.
I mean, maybe it wouldn't be bad if, like, you could still wall bang through, like, lumberyard, but there's, like, I think all these walls are black ones, so you can't actually shoot through them. And if you even go to, like, the more advanced, like, coloring, it's still black, so I don't know if you actually breach that or not. So
yeah,
at least if you're gonna add lumberyard, still make it like a semi-small room, make it like the one medium room in the map, and then it would probably still be a very Kill House stylized. Yeah, I would agree here. Ooh, that's a really intriguing flash. That fully blinds out using.
Oh,
that's a huge isolation there. The bomb is already being attempted as well. This is a fantastic play and read by the Gnomes to just aggress and hope for the best. It's Lewis with another. The Molly didn't really do anything. They have 3 still left in pocket, but it's going to be a high-risk, high-reward situation to go for this swing in the 5-on-3. I mean, there isn't a lot left you can do at this point. Dylan will try to get aggressive. It works him out for 1 pick here, but it's still a very tricky situation to play against. Dylan secures the second one. Why is nobody aggressing? They're managing to claw back in this situation. This could honestly be a 3rd round win for Kitura. A Molly actually forces back the lone attacker here. Gooch will fall. Stop swinging, Dylan, for the love of God. Index finally gets rid of him, but it's a 1 versus 2 against a mop, a big AK, and a Molotov cocktail, and Jet is not going to miss those against Index. That was the worst play you could have possibly done in that situation. Everyone stacking up in this back lumberyard corner allowed Dylan to eat up like he was at a buffet there on Kill House.
I want to say some non-appropriate stream words, and I will not, but oh my God, what are you doing, Gnomes? What are you doing? Why would you play it like that. You just needed to keep tapping the bomb. When I said, by the way, fella, when I said, oh, Scooge with the molly, he was the attacker. He picked up a molly from a dead body and he threw it to deny anyone pushing through the doors. Yes, the defenders did counter molly the bomb, so they couldn't tap it at that exact second. But still, they just needed one on the bomb as they held angles, but they all swung Dylan or Index or sorry, not Index. Who was it? Was it Muse on the
Mm-hmm.
Was it Muse on the mop? Why do you keep
no, Jet was
swinging
mopping.
that?
Jet was mopping.
Jet, sorry, yeah.
I
Jet,
thought you were gonna be talking about someone else. I'm sorry. So I was like, oh yeah, he's right.
I'm not a sniper guy. So how do you lose that? That is the most winnable round you've had in this series. This is more winnable than the rounds that you've actually won this far. How do you? Fella, I'm mad. I am mad, and I need a Xanax or something. I don't know.
I need like a nap after this game. I don't know how after sleeping for 10 hours I'm like getting tired again. I think I'm just tired of this tomfoolery that we're seeing today. This goddamn trolling by the Gnomes. What the hell? You guys had 3 rounds and then you just lose them? I mean, you could argue that like all those tile sets were like kind of defender favored, especially Donut Factory, but that was like the only super defender favored tile set in all honesty. Yeah, they played that poorly. Like, I get it, you need to clear out Dylan so you only have to worry about the mop and not like a swing, but not in that manner. I can't recall if they used all their flashes really early to fully confirm Lumberyard or not, but I don't think they did. Like, they should have flashed, like had a double flash set up and then swung out to kill Dylan. If they get refragged, that's okay, because if the mob player gets that kill, you gotta wait like 5 to 10 seconds for him to reload. It's a long time to reload that gun. That gives you time to bait on the defuser, and they had plenty of time to kill. So that was really, really poor play by Gnomes in the latter half of that round, and they're back on attack, and I am very worried about that because it seemed like neither Kitura or Gnomes were doing that well on their attacking half so far.
Definitely agreed. Hopefully it changes up just a little bit, because there has not been a single attack in round 1 so far, and if you want to claw your way back, if you want to win this one so that you can even go to overtime as your Gnomes, you need to start winning those. And there we go, entry splashes are coming in, but Jet gets 1 and 2 with the auto shot, 3. How do you get those? 1 was actually by Merchant, but still Jet contributed a lot of damage there, and Merchant is just there to help him out. And all of a sudden, it all falls apart for Gnomes, but Lewis gets the second one, and it's a 2v2. Just a 2v1 now. Lewis picks up a third. Can he make it 4? Roach is playing in lobby. He's gonna deny the vault push now, but it may be too little too late. I'm so scared. Reptard and Lewis are not pushing together. They don't know where Roach is. This could go very wrong, and there we go. Roach finally shuts down Lewis on his killing spree. It's all up to Reptard. He knows where Roach is, but he's gonna rotate all the way around into the vault. That is a very great play, and now Reptard has a lot of time still. Clacker in pocket, no flashes as far as I can tell anywhere close to him on the map, but he needs to push in. Roach can just play time. Both are using an AK, one a long one, one a small one. Who will win this one out? 55 seconds left as Reptard starts swinging, looks the wrong way, takes a lot of damage, and Roach is still in full HP. Will he win this one? Reptard has to go for the push, steps the bomb as well. He swings, he loses, and that is Roach clutching the 1v2. What a play from Roach, what a play from Kitura, as they take the lead for the first time in this matchup, fellow. You can speak now.
Again, I was really thinking about it. Maybe I won't talk, I don't know. Again, Jet just with the full auto, he either does the exact polar opposite of one thing or the other. Long range or super short range. It's never anything in the middle unless he's like attacking, of course. But again, just the full auto play, it's been really strong on Bank because of how much natural cover you have in accounting and how much you have to funnel because of that barbed wire unless you have a nade to play around. So they're feeding Jet kills at that point. And I really thought they were gonna refrag him because I think it was Scooch who was right behind him there after Jet already found 1. But no, he just like they walked past each other, they exchanged words, they said good day to one another, and then they forgot about themselves until Jet swung around and was like, oh wait, that's Scooch, and then he lit him up.
You're forgetting, these are like Kitura's a new team, so if anything they said good day, sir. Like, they gotta be British. You gotta be British.
No, I'm good.
Get out of here with your American accent. No. I think we need to start using our channel points to make fellow cast with a British accent for 1 round. I think that is something that we need to do.
I'm gonna just take a nap. I'm gonna pull a Dylan here as he sent this latest message in a Gnomes versus Kitura, where it's just the is this the mustard clip? Yeah, just the guy getting shot at with the mustard on the couch.
And if you want to claw your way back, if you want to win this one,
I'll give you a choice. You can either test the round in a British accent, or you can
coming in with Jet.
You have
one
two
and
choices.
two with the auto shot. 3. How do you get those? One was
Alright.
actually by Merchant, but still, Jet contributed a lot of damage there.
I guess
and
we
Merchant
gotta
is just
at
there
least
to
do
help
the
him out.
one-liner
And all of a sudden, it all falls apart
Real
for Gnomes, but
bullets.
Lewis gets the second
Real
one.
danger.
It's a 2v2.
Real
It's a 2v1
excitement.
now. Lewis picks up
But I don't feel like this is a very exciting game, to be honest, because it's like
It
3
is
and 0
though.
Gnomes, 3 and 0 Gnomes, 4 and 0 Kitura, 4 and 0 Kitura. Like, I am confusion.
Yeah, they're still not bad on attack in round 1, but the last one was so close, it got me hyped up. I'm jumping in my chair. I know you can't see that, but I really hope we keep up this level of play, because both teams have been evened out so evenly. Yes, I'm great at words. Thank you for noticing. But back to kill them.
Yep. And a lot on the line again. Gnomes, they need to win this match, not even tie. That way they can go to a 4th match and then win again and not tie that one. So it is going to be a very taxing next couple of rounds here. Not even just in this matchup for the best of 3 series. The one after that, if we, of course, get there. Castle again, decently strong. Jet's going to be playing there with the mop. He has Muse as well, or Muzey. I'm pretty sure it's Muse. I've just been saying it wrong this entire broadcast. Makes sense. So, a lot of long angles to deal with. You have a Saber, so you can kind of bout against someone either in Ruins or Castle. So it's not horrible. But, I mean, with Jet just kind of having more range to play with in comparison to Reptar, I feel like this still favored the defense. But unfortunately, he's going to miss that first initial shot. The player in base will remain alive.
The
onslaught so far by the Gnomes. They're already baiting the diffuser. They don't win the first gunfight, but Roach will now fall. Things are even 4 versus 4. Muse gets 1. Merchant in the back of the map could maybe find something here, but mostly it's just all this pressure inside a jungle. It's a constant back for back with Lewis the last alive, and he just gets caught in the worst position humanly possible. Mace highlights it perfectly. No one dealt with Merchant, and really, no one dealt with anything. They just ran into jungle and prayed that they would just win their ones, and that is just such an oversight again by the Gnomes. I don't know what the hell they're thinking, but they might be pulling Argo and thinking nothing at all.
I was gonna nice transition. I was gonna mention, but I didn't want to cut you off. As like Merchant here could be trouble. He's playing this so passively. If he gets to swing late round, it could be huge problems for Gnomes. But that's exactly what happened. He got 2 kills, and I'm pretty sure he lit up at least 2 other people in crossfires with Dylan. And it's just such a huge round. And by the way, fellow, we are essentially on series point. If Kitura wins this one more round they need, it doesn't matter because they've tied this game, which means they tied 2 and won 1, and they have prevailed over Gnomes. One more round, and it's all over. The series is over. Kitura goes to the finals, while Gnomes are relegated to lower, where they play, like we've said multiple times before, but just to recap, the winner of Danger Doodles and Global Breakout. So, 1 round is all they need. Can they pull through? We've seen them stall before, and somehow they've always let Gnomes clutch it up until now. Can they actually keep their advantage? Can they keep it going for just 1 more single round, fellow? Gnomes need to really compose this. They need to pull themselves together. Sorry, excuse me. They need to pull themselves together here. There's a lot of
Oh my god. You're back.
I'm gonna yell at my internet provider. I'm gonna pull a Sachi, and I'm gonna get on the phone, and I'm gonna be mad, because this is unacceptable. I'm gonna tell them DPL relies on me. Mostly on you, though, because you're cuter, but still on me as well, just a little bit, and I'll be mad at my internet provider. But back to the C-Store. This is another pretty vertical-ish C-Store. We've been seeing a lot of those today, and I want to see what happens. The Shed push is very interesting. I think Shed is actually relatively good push here. You have the window to deny a few angles. You can kind of get in there uncontested. You know, obviously, barbs and mollies could be a problem, but there are none on there just yet. There will be one on the other one, like the upper storage doors, but nothing just contesting the actual doors. I think the defender decided to just not try and lose their lives there because, you know, the window, like I said, could be very dangerous, and they'll just hold elsewhere, so above and to the left of the storage.
I like the double charge play for Gnomes because of how strong Tellers is to deny the plant, and there is no other strong way of getting control of Tellers other than breaching office or breaching bathroom. But since you're already going for a Shutters play, just go through bathroom. So if someone wants to go play around in bathroom with you, that was kind of near Shutters and often running up through there. Now they have that option. Shutters now opened up. Lewis tries to push through, but there's a Saber to greet him. Roach will go kaboom, and there we have it. Merchant falls as well.
Oh, Dylan?
A fantastic 2K. Dylan will try to get aggressive. He might go for a kick potentially.
Oh,
But the right time. 2 versus 4 situation now. Muse and Jet, the last 2 to stand. The diffuser already being dwindled away at here potentially. Muse needs to step up big, but cannot do it at just the right time. Jet will find one off screen. Now the rotate has to go in through. A Molly will keep these attackers at bay, but all of this time they have to work off of. It's only a matter of seconds before they start to bait that bomb yet again and start to defuse it. And yet again, we have to see Muse step up here and get aggressive. No, but Muse will actually contest him. Jet falls as well. It won't be the final round just yet to see this series over. We need to see a potential 10th and even 11th round here to see what happens after C-Store.
There's no way this is happening. There's no way, fellow. 2 more rounds. 3 more rounds, actually, excuse me, for Gnomes, and they will go to overtime. Is this happening? Are we actually gonna go to overtime?
This is real.
Do you think it's possible? Do you think that Kitura choke their lead, their 3-round match point lead? Do they somehow lose this? How does that happen?
Oh my god, I don't know. It is still 1 round though that we need to have won, and that is it for Kitura. I dropped my pen. I'll have to go awkwardly pick that back up now, and I have it. And I dropped it again, but I caught it in my other hand, so cool. That's fun, I guess. This is a very odd. Yes.
This was, sorry for cutting you off, but this was the first defender, or sorry, the first attacker round 1. Before that, it was always the defenders, if I'm not mistaken, right? And now Gnomes are on defense, which means that they should have, in theory, the upper hand. I'm pretty sure that was the first attacker round.
C-Star was the only attacker round win. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So, you know, on paper, yes, they are a round down, and they need to win. They need to win at least, actually, all 3 rounds, while you know, Team Kitura needs only 1. But they are on defense, which means they can bring it back relatively easily. Or at least they should be able to if they don't crack under the mental pressure that is on being on match point for so long. So can they do it? It's all up to them. The ball is in their court, as I've said earlier. Will they pull through?
I don't know. It looks like Kitura is opting for a vault play, which is not vault play, sorry, a vent play. Why? Not sure. Unless they want to like blow manager and then like kind of hastily hit the switch and have someone waiting, and then they open it up and they go for a defuse there if no one's playing in vault. But other than that, I mean, it looks to be like a very time-consuming play if you want to drop down loans, because you have to clear through like all of hallway, all of tellers, bathroom potentially too, and then only at that point you have to go in a lobby too. So it's like just getting map control that's probably not going to be pressured at all. So for why? Again, unless they don't want to go through main, I don't know why the hell they'd want to go loans. They have only 1 player, so I think they're going to either pressure a lot of main entrance to then go into security and go for switch, or they're going to go manager to go for that switch instead, because it's only merchant in the back here, and he'll probably just be waiting again for that drop down just to run into vault as quickly as humanly possible.
Yeah, he has already lost a little bit of HP though, so he will need to be careful for the remainder of the round. He kicked both of the vents just in case they don't know where he's coming from. The main breach comes out, and Lewis with the shotgun will be the first point of contention for the attackers. Can he hold it out? The flashes could be dangerous. There we go, a second molly coming out just to waste as much time as humanly possible. Jet finally also joins the gang on the lower side of the map. They're next to the main entrance. Smoke's coming out from Merchant just to try and make someone rotate, and that is exactly what Index does. He's kind of pushed away. He's careful. He doesn't know how
how many people there are. Flashes are coming out, but Lewis gets 2 off the bat and make that a 3. He got shut down by Dylan, but it could be too late. Index and Merchant will have to shoot at each other now, but Raptor is ready to help out. It's all up to Merchant. Will he get the 4? Probably not, but can he play eco? There we go. That's the first one. He knows what the second one is as well. 3 stars are coming out, but he gets wall banged by Index, and that is another round for Gnomes. Oh my god. Are we actually gonna go there, fella? Are we actually gonna cast 2 games like this in a row, where we go not only to 3 games, but to overtime?
I mean,
is this possible?
This could be just reality manifesting itself. There's definitely a chance of that happening. I mean, Kitura, they're getting sloppy. They are not doing basic stuff. Like, if you're gonna go main, you gotta flash close. I've seen so many full auto players just get away with that just aggression like that for no good reason. Argo does it, Gravy does it, Lewis does it, Jet probably has done it before too. Like, what are you thinking? Why are you not flashing that? And like, your Mott player, like, worst case scenario, he's gonna get 1 kill against you. That's it. Full auto player, if you're in the building, several. You don't know how many kills he's gonna get with that gun. So
apparently the answer is 3, by the way.
So for why? Again, unless they don't want to go through main, I don't know why the hell they'd want to go lone. They have only 1 player. So I think if you're that concerned about pressure a lot of main entrance to then go like security and go that Switch, or they're gonna go manager to fully push in just to run into even then it's still really bad. So
yeah, he has already lost a little bit of HP though, so he will need to be careful for the remainder of the round. He takes both of the vents just in case.
Player. Like, why not do that?
Careful, he doesn't know how many people there are. Flags are coming out, but Lewis gets 2 off the bat and make that a 3. He gets shut down by Dylan, but it could be too late. Index and Merchant Raptor is ready. We are back to not checking corners, by the way. We are 3 games deep into this series. We're not checking corners. How do you keep getting away with that? I know it's easy to sit up here and, you know, criticize players, but this is such a basic thing to do that I don't think we can be faulted for expecting the teams at this level in the upper bracket semifinals of the major to check their corners when they go at least bank main entrance. If it happens somewhere else, okay, it happens, but bank main entrance, there's almost always someone playing there, especially when they want to go for those cheesy picks. You do it all the time, for Christ's sake, fellow. If you know how to do it, then pro teams should know how to counter it, but they don't. They're not reacting. And it's so frustrating because we've seen some amazing plays and some amazing tactics so far, but then there's, you know, flukes like this that just make me go, oh my god, am I spectating a casual? But regardless, I'm gonna stop my rant. We are in round 11 out of 12. Gnomes need 2, Kitura only needs 1. Who will prevail?
I mean, the odds should be favoring Kitura, but again, they're just the overconfidence. It's showing again. They were able to remove it, and now it's being popped up again. But look at this confident peek being attempted by Reptar. It's going to miss, unfortunately, but he won't overstay his welcome. He falls back, goes into water, and will now probably contend some other longer angle. It is almost a full commit, and it probably will be a full commit in Beach because there's no charges, there's no clackers. They have to just kind of funnel in. Mason and Lewis are playing this pretty well, considering that known fact here. So this is going to be a very uphill battle here for Kitura to guarantee they win right here and not even have to worry about another round after this, perhaps, because a 7-5 victory is looking to be a bigger and bigger potential as we just dive deeper here into this next round on Kill Deck.
And there we go. Scooch gets the entry onto Merchant. An absolutely important fragger for Kitura so far. Smokes are coming out and Jet gets the refrag, but Maze gets 1. Roach refrags, and it's a 3v3, a Slaughterhouse on Kill Dome. They put the kill in Kill Dome, but can they clutch it out? Raptor also shooting out. He's being looked at the Saber, but he's still alright. Still at almost full HP. Lewis has taken a little bit of damage, though. He needs to play passive, and he doesn't know there's someone very close to him. But will Muse actually swing the right angle? He has so many angles to worry about. This could be devastating. Jet has overextended quite far, and there could be no refrags if he dies at the wrong time. Raptor, though, and Jet just kind of having a sniper 1-on-1. No one is hitting their shots as of yet, but Lewis gets taken off, and it's a 2v3. Just 25 more seconds, instead of which you need to defuse. Just hold on. Hold play for time. Please do it. Raptor still in castle. Index behind the rock. Shots are still coming out from the Saber, but the bump gets stepped. There is no mollies in pocket, and they need to go for the swings. Muse gets one, actually gets taken out. Excuse me, now it's a 2v2. Time is running out. 10 seconds left. It's all up to Jet. On the Saber, he gets one. That will not be enough. He needs to stick the bump. Index just has to swing. He does so, and there is no time to defuse. 97!
Barely!
97! Oh my god!
Down to the wire in that instance there. But man, playing for time well enough and brilliant work done by Index. Quite literally doing God's work there with the Ingmar and the Gat. I mean, he did almost everything perfectly. He understood that they have to flush him out there. They're going to go for several different peaks, and he just upped the ante constantly. That was so well done, especially since your MOP player in that closer proximity, he's going to be very weak unless he whips out a pistol and just lands some one taps there with the LS or the GAT, whatever pistol he's holding there in that altercation. So that was really well won by Gnomes again.
I really wish I could show you
Castle
how
Index
my
behind the
heart
rock.
thing. I don't think I've
Shots
ever.
are still
I
coming
said that
out
on
from
the
the
GB
Saber.
Gnomes game, and I
Bump
think
gets
this somehow
stepped.
tops.
There is no
I don't
mollies
think
in
I've
pocket,
ever
and
been
he needs
this
to go
riled
for the
up by
swings.
a
Muse
game.
gets
I am
one, actually gets
on the
taken
edge
out.
of my
Excuse
seat. I
me,
think
now it's a
for
2v2.
this
Time is
point,
running out.
but
10
somehow,
seconds
some
left.
way,
It's all up to
we
Jet.
are
On the Saber, he gets
continuing
one.
on
That will not be enough.
in
He
this series,
needs to
and
stick the
we
bump.
are,
Index
like we
just has
said,
to
on
swing.
the third
He does
game,
so,
and once
and there
again,
is no
just like
time
in
to
the second
defuse.
game, it all comes down to this one
97
round. Whoever
wins.
wins this one round wins the
Oh my
game,
God.
and if it's Kitura, that's also the series for them. If it's Gnomes, we're gonna see overtime as well. And I just don't know how lucky we are, or how we got so lucky, fellow, but we've casted 2 in a row, 2 such matches in a row, 2 of the closest matches in the major, I assume. I'm just really glad that we're getting these matches, and it's an absolute honor to be here. But can Gnomes pull it back? They need this one round desperately. If they lose, it's all over for them. They go into the lower bracket where they face probably GB, also possibly Danger Duels, though. I don't want to count them out. They just need this one defensive round. There has only been one attacker round win so far in this
Entire series, yeah. Only one. That was round number 9.
Someone in chat said I'm about to pop a blood vessel, and Echo, you're absolutely right. I think I need to give someone my address, and they need to call me an ambulance, because at this point, if I go quiet, you can't tell if I had a heart attack or if I'm just like detected, and this is dangerous. This is not healthy. But
You
C-Store.
smell burnt toast?
Oh my god.
You're not having a stroke? All right, that's a relief. That's one less thing you need to worry about then. That's a big relief. You can focus on the whole game now. Big thing though, we had a save last round, so now Kitura can actually charge a couple of things here on this Palisade Bank, which is great. I mean, the hard destruction here, pretty damn well acquired. I think they're opting also wall charge as well, shutters. I think they've had that saved. Yeah, they did. Okay, I looked correctly. So they can do the exact same thing that we had Gnomes implement against them. However, you've got Lewis with a full auto and a barbed wire to play around as well. Unless you want to flash and then nade that, which there's no nades on the board as they popped it near Delhi. It's going to be a very tricky funnel here. This is make or break for Lewis right now, because if he dies to Dylan, that is so much map control and a huge power position now forfeit. But it's only been 30 seconds here. It's still a lot of passivity between both teams. In all honesty, no one wants to give away that first loss of life just yet. It's just constant peek for a few seconds, shoot some shots, then fall back. Here comes swing by Lewis, but no, Dylan's watching. That's a huge loss of life. He can pick up the full if he wants to. Merchant finds one. There's the refrag onto Dylan. Teller's control no longer in the hand of the attackers. The long range being contested by Scooge. Now it's 3 versus 3. Reptar gets aggro, and he'll be punished for it by Muse. 2 versus 2, or 2 on 3, as we still have Merchant on the board. He's just across the map looking for Scooge potentially here in the back of offices, but he's just playing passive. If they know this, they can isolate Index, but he has Tellers to play around perhaps. The Saber and the AP25 could be great to kill that player with the Ingmar, but Jet loses the fight. That's huge. It's a 2 versus 2 now. Merchant swings, he'll win the gunfight, and now it's up to Index here. Make or break situation here for the Gnomes to bring it to a 4th series. Diffuser being tricked by Muse, but he'll get off it at a pretty quick instance. 30% tick down. He tries to peek through the single slit, but cannot, as they're watching it so patiently here. They're playing this damn near perfectly. Muse will fall. 95%. You can hold it down. Kitura, they keep themselves alive. We're not going to a 4th match, as it's a tie game, and that's all that Kitura needed. they'll be knocked down into relegation, and there might be a rematch before we go to grand finals between Gnomes and Global Breakout.
Oh my god, what a game. I think I may actually need an ambulance at this point.
Oh my god.
I honestly
One round! That's it! One round!
Won! It came down to a 1v1. It wasn't even a one-sided round. Gnomes lost 2 people early, but somehow Reflex came out, and then I believe it was Index who got like 3. He needed to win. Scooge also very passive. I was very optimistic. By the way, my cam is doing things. I'm sorry about that. But I was very, very optimistic about Scooge. Yeah, he was so passive in that upper side of the map that wasn't contested at all. And I was like, okay, that is risky, but he's playing up there. No one knows he's there. He can just go for a late swing. He can win this whole round with one good flank and late time. But somehow, some reason, Merchant swung him, Scooge lost the fight, and that's the second the Gnomes lost the game. It was so close as well. If the bomb hadn't been tapped as much as it was, Index would have won that 1v1. I believe he would have. In my heart, I believe he would have. But Kitura win. It is a 2-1. We almost went to overtime once again, fellow. And yeah, do you have any closing thoughts? Because there's so much to unpack here.
Looking for Scooge potentially
I think
here
two
in the
major
back.
things.
The fact that Kitura were the only, or actually no, only one round was won by each team on their attacks, but they were some of the most pivotal rounds that we had overall between both Gnomes and Kitura. But the last 2 rounds in particular, the bomb pressure was just, it was perfect. Literally 97% on Kill Dome. If Jet had 1 second more to play with, that would have, we wouldn't even seen C-Store. And then the same thing happened. They had these angles being held. That way the bomb pressure was just too much to deal with. And at that point, Merchant was just able to stick it. I mean, the replay highlighted it perfectly as well. Thank you, Midship and EK as well. I mean, it's just unheard of how we got this close, 1 round, to change the entire storyline, to see who gets knocked out in this double elimination. It's not going to be Kitura. It's going to be the Gnomes. And I know we were joking about it in the Scuff cast that we'll have to see the rematch here in the grand finals, but nope. Either Gnomes or GB or Doodles, one of those teams, or both those teams technically, are going to have to get knocked out in about half an hour. As before we go into the break, we got an interview, but I mean, it's already 3 o'clock Eastern because that game went on for so long. We probably would have had to have delayed the other game too because EK's on prod. So we really could have been in here for the long haul, Boxy. And you know, I'm upset I didn't win predictions technically, but
I did.
To see this game, to see this game go so far and almost have you lose, I mean, I think that still made my day.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna comment on this. I've been saying from game 2 onwards, I've been saying whoever ends up putting this one out, I think it's been a great series, and I think it's been a privilege to cast it. You know, whatever happens, it was such a great match, and the fact that we got to see it at all, I think, is amazing. I'm super glad that we were able to get together to cast almost all. I think there was only one match that hasn't been broadcast in the entirety of the major, which was just insane. So, you know, huge thank you to you for casting with me, to all the other casters that are casting, to EK, Midship, and every other person on production. Like, you're just doing an amazing job. And it's super cool to be a part of all of this. But also thank you to players for these amazing shows that you're putting on. So I think this is it for us, unless you have anything to add. But if not, we will just, you know, kind of end the stream, and it'll be back live in 30 minutes, even less, because we do the countdown now. Thank you for tuning in. It was such a blast. I need to go nap now because I think I may just have a heart attack still.
Well, I think we got an interview first, of course.
Oh, we got an interview. That's right.
Come on.
We didn't do that yesterday, so I was kind of, on me.
Oh, come on.
We didn't do that yet. I don't know why.
We can't have an almost 4-match series not have an interview. Come on, you know better than that.
True.
We even did it.
Are
We
we
did a
getting
goddamn
Dylan?
interview for the Scuffed game. Like, of course, we got to do an interview. And as Boxy's connection comes back, we also have a new member here in the booth with us tonight for the interview. It's none other than the Brit himself, the cool British man that I always talk about. It's Dylan from Kitura. My God, and Muzey, or Muse, however you want to. Oh no, it's actually Merchant. I'm sorry.
Nice
Close enough.
easy.
No, it's
Easy.
easy.
It's easy.
Oh, it is? Oh, yeah.
His Discord name is Merchant.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I only read the Merchant part. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad I got it right the first time at least. But man,
Yeah,
How are
quite
the
a
both
game
of you
minutes.
feeling about this? Yeah, that was a
First thing I did,
Christ.
my mum said to me mid-game, Dylan, can you go and take your bin bags out? And I went, yeah, after this. So the first thing I did when we won, I ran out my room and I took the bin bags out to bin.
Oh
Just
my
saying.
God.
So I did it in game
Trash
and
day.
out of game. So
Oh no.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
fair. That's fair.
Oh my
Oh.
God.
I am
I
hype,
yeah.
bro.
We're
Like
hyped.
3-0 in the first major that I've been in this community. Like I haven't even played it open for that mod. Like I played it open once and that's it. And now we're
Oh.
3-0. This is great.
Well,
Um,
since we are a little behind on, not really behind on schedule, I guess it did go to the full BO3, but we are close to the second match happening. So I guess we will unfortunately have to keep this this interview a bit shorter, as I am now stuttering and stammering. Of course, makes sense.
mhm.
All right, so match number 1, that was a victory for you guys, of course, and then it was a tie game after that. What did you guys change from match 1 to, reclaw back that victory after Gnomes had a 4-2 split on you guys? And then what went wrong going into match number 2 as well to allow a tie game to happen?
for me, I got overconfident. I was very happy that Reptar specifically started talking so much trash. I'm finally able to just basically look down and just say you're wrong. So we got overconfident. I know that, but we still managed to bring it back.
Yeah, I honestly think that the main issue we had was we kind of were counting on them to do stupid plays because like they did green every first round on defense like the first match and we were counting on that in the second and I'm pretty sure that just put us into a mindset.
Well, I'm glad I was right about the about overconfidence. I was literally talking about that during the cast. I'm like, you know what? If I were these guys, I'd be throwing rounds because I'm like, man, we got this in the bag, and then that's exactly what happened. Good
I'm
news by EK. He simply puts IDK, I do not care, or IDC, sorry, I don't care. So we can have a longer interview, but I think that's good. We get to pick at your guys' brains for a little while longer. So I'll hand it off to Boxy, the color commentator here, to
I mean,
get his
first
2
of
cents.
all, I'm gonna throw a fellow under the bus. I predicted you guys win. I said I think Gnomes get it, but I still predicted you guys on the record, and fellow said Gnomes, so you know who the traitor is. Let's get that out of the way. But yeah, really, the last round, I don't know if you guys were keeping track. The only attacker, or there were only 2 attacker rounds won on the last game. In the last till the last round that you guys won. So did I lag out again? Of course I
Oh,
did.
Yeah,
you're good.
just a
Yeah.
bit.
So game 3 had like exclusively attacker, or sorry, defender wins, apart from the one round Gnomes won, and then the last round that you guys won. What happened? Why was it so defender sided throughout the entire game?
You go if you want, Muse.
Okay. If I may be blunt, their attacking side sucks.
Okay.
Majority of the time it's either a 5-man push or it legitimately doesn't make sense and we can either like get easy lurks off on them because I'm pretty sure there was one round there where freaking Roach was in lobby and he killed, I don't know, I don't remember who it was. I think it was either Louis or Scooge on the divider near the bomb, and then he rotates back into vault and then kills either Reptar or I don't know who it was, but still, like, they just 5 push things so often and it's just so easy to play around it.
Yeah. Also, I know it's been a while since you've played so many rounds, but that round 1, or game 1 rather, bank in the first half, you guys who were defending, we just complimented you guys so much. I think that was the best banks, like the best set of rotations on bank we've ever seen. So I don't know.
Uh-oh.
This happens a lot. Don't worry, he'll be back.
I really hate it here. I apologize, but you guys were really doing well with rotates on bank, especially in the first game, the first half. That one round is stuck in my mind. Did you guys practice specifically rotates on bank, or rotates in general, or was it just something that happened because you contested the button super early on, and then just kind of when you guys started getting pushed out and flashed, you just fell back into lobby and you hold around pillar. It was really well played.
And we never practiced it. This was just a on the fly thing. we liked playing not as risky as others. Like with Merchants Gelling, we played a lot of heavy one area, but we didn't split. Whereas now that I've got the chance to do it, I've been doing a lot of fallback plays, a lot of like early damage and then back up because it seems to work. So
Okay.
it's just been like we've been practicing specifically fallback plays, but we've been more like it's not on specific maps.
Okay. So I don't know if Fellow has any more questions. I have one last one, but if Fellow has any, he can go first.
Now that I can think of it, I might need to wait a second
Okay.
here to get some real thought. on
Okay,
it.
so I think this is the last question, but you guys are going up either against GB, against Danger Doodles, or against Gnomes again in the grand finals. Do you have either any thoughts on any of them? Which one do you want to see? Which one you don't? And just like, if you do, you want to say something for the stream before we wrap this up.
Revenge for YY.
Okay, revenge for YY.
Oh no, the plot
Short and
thickens
sweet.
again.
Dylan, should I
Easy?
say it or?
Go for it.
no.
Okay.
Oh no.
Well, I honestly want to give like a big round of applause and thanks to Gnomes for keeping our second spot warm. It was really nice of them to just keep it warm while we're trying to laid back. It's all good.
Oh,
I don't know if you
wow,
guys are a fan of
okay.
Siege or not at all, but I would really take into consideration the Levron effect because that's what happened to Gnomes today. So I would I'd
Yep.
recommend not being on the high horse for too long. I love you guys to death, but the people who actually dethroned GB just got walloped by you guys in a sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
As much
Does that make
remember,
you the best team by
it's
transitive property, by
as
the way?
Echo
I
would
hope so.
say. Yeah, I have to keep trolling Argo because every time he's like in Twitch chat, he's like, "Man, I guess Gnomes now are the best team because they beat us in a best of 3." And I love having to laugh with Argo to death. But yeah, it's not over until it's over. Just keep that in mind, of course. I hope you guys bust your bottoms off moving into these next couple of weeks because it is going to be a long battle after today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As much smack as I talk, I just want to let know, Gnomes and GB, I love all of you. Like, as much
Yeah.
as we're talking all this, it's like I wouldn't be here without Gnomes. I wouldn't be here. Like, a lot of people in the Gnomes have helped me, so I do want to let known I don't dislike them in any way or all.
I also do want to say that me and Reptar